How you doing, friends? Good to see you again very quickly. It is CFLW, and I'm live on this early Tuesday afternoon, tracking more widespread storms across Central Florida. A little bit different setup for today, so we'll get into that. Some areas that have been desperate for some rain and storms getting that big time potential flood threat for today to go along with some stronger storms. As always, CFLW is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, offering free consultation and policy reviews. They'll walk you through that insurance claim process. You can check them out by going to their website. You can scan their QR code right there on your screen. It's leanonmelaw.com if you guys would like more information. Nice to see everyone on this early Tuesday afternoon. I hope you're doing well. We'll get into what's been happening with the storms and kind of the progression of things that I expect for the remainder of the day. Let me say this, first of all, I do expect this to be a day where the storms have obviously developed early today, but they're also likely to get out of the area a little bit quicker than what we typically see as well. So there is a give and a take in the storm development for today. But obviously right now they have become very widespread. You can see our live cameras here, and it looks like I'll need to reset our Lake Buena Vista camera one more time for you guys here. But again, Winter Garden is in the middle of your screen. Conway in the southeast side of downtown Orlando is in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, and the attractions area is going to be on your top left. So those are our live cameras for you here. Let's get into the story at the hour. We've had good clusters of thunderstorms developing today, mainly in our western areas. We've had one or two special weather statements with some strong gusty winds out of this. You can see the 37-mile-an-hour wind gust in Plant City, the 32-mile-an-hour wind gust there near the Temple Terrace area. Wesley Chapel reported some power outages earlier. There was a water spout off of the Sarasota County coastline. So some good thunderstorms and some heavy rain in our western areas, the areas that desperately need some of the showers and storms that obviously don't need to deal with the flooding aspects to some of the rain. We do have a new special weather statement now in effect for the Orlando area. This is right in the heart of Orange County. Again, these storms just developing at the hour, just like when I saw you guys yesterday. As these storms are getting going, there's not a lot of forward speed to these. They're basically just propping up right now. So maybe a slow movement to the south. If you live in the Orlando metro area, winds of 50 miles an hour and potentially some quarter-inch size hail. I do expect the hail size to not be significant for today. I hope we stay in the dime category or less. We might get one or two severe thunderstorm warnings. Likely the winds are going to stay just below that criteria in a lot of areas. And then ultimately, as these storms kind of merge, the flood threat becomes more elevated the deeper into this Tuesday that we go. So let me give you the actual bulletin from the National Weather Service office in the Melbourne area. Strong thunderstorm impacting western Orange County through 1:45. Doppler radar tracking a strong thunderstorm from Ocoee to Universal Studios. The storms are basically stationary. Again, 50-mile-an-hour winds and some pea-sized hail. Orlando, Apopka, Ocoee, Winter Garden, Winter Park, some of the areas impacted by obviously Lake Buena Vista, Dr. Phillips, Tangelo Park, Bay Hill, Oak Ridge, Millenia, Lake Butler, Metro West, Windermere, Gotha, up towards Ocoee, Hamlin area, and Winter Garden. And this does extend far enough north to include the Apopka area on the northwest side of the county, and then as far south and east to cross over 1792 and include places like Sky Lake, Pine Castle, Belle Isle, and Conway, just to the north and to the west of the MCO area. These thunderstorms in general have kind of just been developing and then slowly beginning to merge as well. Now, the big story compared to the last, what seems like several weeks, maybe even longer than that, and you'll see some of the information at the bottom of your screen, is that the best concentration for storms today is likely to be interior to the west coast. It is places like Citrus and Hernando and Pasco and Manatee and Sarasota and Hillsborough and Pinellas and Polk counties, even Sumter, that actually has a better chance for storms today compared to our East Coast, Flagler, Brevard, Volusia counties included along the East Coast. So we'll concentrate the storms I-4 today back over towards I-75 and US 19. And these are the areas that have been the most desperate for the rain. Now, just like yesterday, the lightning count at the hour is quite impressive. We've had over 2,000 lightning strikes in this view in the past 15 minutes. If you guys are being impacted by these storms, let me know in the comments section below. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I hope you're having a good Tuesday. I'll jump over to the chat right now. First of all, thanks Nautilus so much for your support. Thank you, Nautilus, for being a friend of the channel and the $5 super thanks that goes along with that. So thank you very much, Nautilus, for that. And I hope you are doing well for today. So let's get the hearts out in chat for our member and our super thanks there at $5. Thank you so much, my friend. Hope you're doing well. A couple of things I'm going to try and do here in the back end. Bear with me. Here we go. Okay. So I told you guys that we can bring up our chat. I do want to thank Nautilus for that. Again, you guys want to throw a couple dollars our way, we're happy to put your chat on. If you do have a question, you can drop it in the comment section below. But again, thank you to Nautilus for the $5 super chat and appreciate all the support this afternoon. Good to see everyone. Again, hope you're doing well. Got our live cameras here today watching these storms. Now, they're going to be marginally severe, all right? But they're going to be very widespread. They're coming in quite early today as well. So we're going to have a different timing with these impacts. These storms are likely to continue to move through until the mid to late afternoon hours and then begin to move away after that in some regard. But you can clearly see the amount of storms and where they're more concentrated for today. That's going to be Metro Orlando back off towards the west. We'll continue to monitor our cameras as well. We're going to take a look at some of those for you guys right now. We'll start off with our Lake Buena Vista camera. And again, at the hour, you can clearly see the overcast skies and a little bit of thunderstorm activity in that neck of the woods right now. The storms are just building into this area. So unfortunately, again, if you do live in the southwest side of Orange County or you're an attractions goer or you know someone who is, let them know. This is going to be our winter garden camera. And again, you can see that the bulk of the storm is actually just to the east of this camera, but additional showers and storms continue to develop just to the west of there in Lake County. So that's what we're seeing right now are some non-severe storms developing over Lake County, but it's a very turbulent sky at the hour. And that's what I'm anticipating for at least the next couple of hours here is that we're just going to continue to get good thunderstorms in these areas. They'll continue to crop up from time to time. They're going to produce some locally heavy downpours, and flooding is going to be a big threat to go along with the lightning. I mean, look, obviously it is the summer months. A lot of the kids are obviously out from school right now. Maybe you're working from home. Maybe you had plans to be outdoors. I understand the situation, but for today, storms are going to be developing earlier and impacting us through the mid to late afternoon hours. We'll move on over to the Conway cam right now. And again, showers and storms in that area, some locally heavy downpours just to the north and to the east of the Conway cam as the storms continue to develop to the north and to the east. Okay. Back over to our three-box camera network here, and we'll get back into, again, the rest of the story. Special weather statement continues for Orange County. Another cluster of storms, southern Sumter, eastern sides of Hernando and Pasco counties. The storms that move through the eastern side of Hillsborough County included the Temple Terrace, Mango, Brandon, Dover, Seffner areas. Produced some pretty widespread 35 and 40 mile an hour winds. Again, saw a report earlier of some power outages in the Wesley Chapel area. These storms are now moving deeper into Manatee County. They're going to try and work their way into Sarasota County, Hardee County, DeSoto, a little bit to the east and north and west of Highlands County at the hour. Thunderstorms in a nice little cluster right here, back over the Spring Hill area, up 19 towards Homosassa Springs, and the Lecanto Crystal River areas of the western side of Citrus County. And again, if you're just tuning in, we do have a special weather statement for a storm producing some 50 mile an hour wind potential right in the heart of the Orlando area. That special weather statement is going to go until 1:45. Hot today. Boy, the heat has been a big story as well. All right. Let me jump into the chat. First opportunity to do so. Again, hope everyone's doing well on this early Tuesday afternoon. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Therese. Hope you're doing well. Yes, Kyle, let us see what's going on. Land O'Lakes locked in. Good to see you, Kish. Palm Bay is good. Yeah, again, the east side of our area likely to not have as much activity for today. I'm not going to rule out some storms along the east coast, but we're going to concentrate things for the afternoon hours, I-4 towards I-75. Western areas will be the target for today. Yes, indeed. Hey, Jared, good afternoon to you as well. Ton of lightning. That's another huge story, no doubt about it. Hey, Larry, how you doing? I hope you got some storms. Maggie says, just had a thunderstorm go by Wesley Chapel in Pasco. Maggie, did you have any power outages or did you know anyone who did? Again, I saw a report a little bit earlier out of the Wesley Chapel area. Let me make sure get to Wesley Chapel here. Out of the Wesley Chapel area of a little bit of power problems there. That was a hefty storm that did move through Pasco and the interior sides of Hillsborough County. And this is what continues. And they've now reissued the special weather statement. It's the same line of storms that moved through Wesley Chapel earlier. If you notice, they are beginning to make the coast. And there has been a little bit in the way of some rotation near the coastline. There was a very distinct water spout earlier today, and these storms continue to track off to the south and to the east. So now this is going to be for the Sun Center area, Little Manatee River State Park, the Alafaya River State Park, Fort Greene, Fort Lonesome, Wiyama, again, I'm still learning that one, just to the south and east of 75. So this is moving into more rural areas here as you get to the eastern sides of Manatee County. But special weather statement for the next 35 minutes, winds of up to 50 miles an hour. Storms are also going to try and propagate and develop a little bit farther east into the western sides of Polk County. Likely we're going to see some kind of merger of all of these cells along I-4. I think the I-4 drive from Tampa to Orlando is going to be dog doo the next few hours. It's not going to be very pleasant out there with additional storms that are still developing to the north. I want to be clear again, this is a non-typical situation with our sea breeze boundary for today because we do have some extra push coming in from the north and to the east. We do have this boundary that's beginning to stall out in association with our 10% chance for the National Hurricane Center. But the northeast mid-level winds are putting more bite in the atmosphere today. There's just a lot more in the way of instability, but the storms are developing earlier and they are pushing off to the south. So we should be done with them earlier today, relatively speaking. I don't think most of the storms will hold on to sunset. Most of the models had this beginning to dissipate as we got a little bit closer to the drive home. Edward says, got 1 inch in Richland so far. That's some good solid rain. Storming in Spring Hill for a bit right now. Katie says, finally some rain in Homosassa. That's good to hear from my friends in Citrus County. Good afternoon from Lakeland. Kevin, hope you're doing well. Not really moving into the Gulf, no. These are more localized storms. There'll be some activity that will pull into the coastal waters. So it's not going to surprise me if there is a special weather statement or a special marine advisory from time to time for the Tampa, St. Pete areas in association with these storms. There's one up here right now in the Big Bend, but there could be additional storm activity back off towards Pinellas County and the coastal areas of Manatee and Sarasota counties as well. Hey, Desert Rose, how you doing? Tom Tarpon says, looks bad, but nothing in the way of precip in the Ruskin area. Gotcha. Ruskin, the home of the Tampa radar. That might change pretty quickly. I mean, there's probably some rain near Ruskin right now. Yeah, storms moving in early, taking the edge off of the heat. You know, heat advisories were still to play for today in some areas. Temperatures that very quickly, and I mean, I went outside early today, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. You know, this is bad. But obviously you've got a lot of low and even mid 90s where it hasn't rained. But when the rain cooled air moves through, look at Temple Terrace right now. They dropped all the way down to 73. So you do have a 20-degree drop in those locations. As I've mentioned, the thunderstorm will build down into the Lake Buena Vista area, and that's what we're seeing right now. Look at the camera to the top left-hand side of your screen. Our live camera out of the attractions area, Lake Buena Vista. Let's take that camera for you guys. Before we do so, KT Specialty says, hi there, new sub, tuning in from Melbourne. So grateful to find a real detailed Central Florida weather analysis. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope everyone's having a great afternoon. And again, thanks for the kind words. And we do have that interaction now with the channel, right? We'll be able to show you guys some of our live comments, obviously, our subscribers with priority, those with super chats and super thanks. You got a question, we'll pop those up on the screen as well, and I'm happy to answer those. So there's the thunderstorm moving into Lake Buena Vista as we speak. Good gusty winds, heavy downpours, a ton of lightning, not a great scenario for Magic Kingdom, for Epcot, for Universal, for Epic. All of those areas up to iDrive is just going to be wet and stormy for a time to come. So hopefully those folks are heeding what they need to do and getting back indoors. Again, it's a great camera to have because we always know there's a lot of folks out and about in Central Florida in this neck of the woods. And this camera is just 1 mile from the Disney property, about as close as you can get. Again, live look there. We are looking back towards the south from this camera. So we'll see that storm continue to move through the area. But there's a shot right now from Lake Buena Vista. Healthy thunderstorm moving through. It is just on the edge of the special weather statement. Now, again, in Winter Garden, the storm is just to the east. There are some additional showers and storms developing off towards the south. So we'll be watching that for you guys. And again, right along the horizon, and I'll take off the title so you guys can see it. You can see the developing showers and storms there along the horizon. That's what we would be seeing back in Lake County. Again, our camera here from the Winter Garden area. Cynthia says light rain in Zephyr Hills. Orlando storm almost took out my power. 2-minute drive from Universal, had a lightning strike behind the apartment. Hot storms, no doubt about it. A lot of lightning. Power could be an issue. Could absolutely take down something. And again, that storm is a hot one. I mean, look at the lightning strikes. Just top hand side of your screen right here. What I'm showing you, you don't need me to tell you more than once, is that this is the 15-minute lightning count from this view. So in just this little view right now, we've been able to have over 300 lightning strikes. Could absolutely cause some problems as far as power goes. These are the temperatures. It's 93 right now in downtown Orlando. It is likely to cool significantly if the storm can get to the executive airport. Same situation for MCO and Kissimmee, both sitting in at 91 degrees. Inverness right now is 95. Storms building to Crystal River in at 86. And again, we had a plethora of thunderstorms move through Pasco, Hernando, Hillsborough counties earlier, and now we're getting Tampa rain cooled back into the 70s. This is an area desperate for the rain, so glad to see that they got some of that stuff. Hopefully, again, there's enough forward speed and movement when we're not going to be dealing with widespread flooding, but it is an issue for today. So before we go too far into this, I do want to highlight that the western half of our area is under a low-end risk, if you will, for excessive rainfall. This is what this graphic is showing you. Anywhere in green, there is an opportunity for excessive rainfall and flooding. It obviously favors our central and western areas, as I've mentioned, but if you do live in the green, there's that opportunity. It's something I'll monitor. It's not expected to be extremely widespread, but the chance is out there. Now, the severe weather risk for today has also come back, just like yesterday. The vast majority of the day, including just before I came on, we weren't even under a slight risk for severe storms. This is a new update from the Storm Prediction Center to extend the marginal risk back down our central and western areas south of Lake Okeechobee. It's a 1 out of 5 on the scale. Again, some organized severe potential is possible for today, just like we had the last couple of afternoons with these storms. So again, favoring today, Orlando on over towards Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sarasota. Doesn't mean we're not going to get some storms, St. Augustine, down towards Daytona Beach and the Melbourne, Palm Bay area, but we're likely to see these be a lot more isolated and not as strong compared to central and western areas. So this is even new to me. Just before I came on, I checked the Storm Prediction Center, and we were still under just the general light green thunderstorm risk for today, but now we're on 1 out of 5 out of the scale. So we're gonna have to watch that situation as it evolves. We'll look at our local storm reports for today, just checking out, make sure we haven't had anything. A couple of storms up here towards Cedar Key and north have produced some gusty winds along the coast, but I have not seen anything of significance here. I thought maybe we would get the waterspout report, but I don't see that right now. Okay, appreciate everyone tuning in again. Jump back into the chat. I'm doing well, Desert Rose. Thank you. Here we go. Kish has 72 right now. No, it's a possibility, right? We're talking about El Nino and how this could impact us. What I do believe is that the deeper into summer that we go, it could absolutely enhance the rainfall here because the jet stream gets a little bit farther south than an El Nino, pulls in more moisture. This, for what's happening today, is more impacted by what's going on to our north and to our east. Sorry about that. I meant to drag this one. Let me show you that real quickly. If I go over to the visible satellite imagery real fast, we still have our frontal boundary sitting off of the East Coast. We still have this 10% here, but we're getting a little bit more mid-level energy to spin back into our area. So it's not necessarily El Nino associated with this, but in a broad sense, El Nino is likely to bring us a wetter summer months, and that's just fine, as much of a drought as we've been in. But today it's a little bit more of the localized what's happening just off of our East Coast. Now, they've split this special weather statement in two. It does now include portions of southwest Polk County, and then again back into portions of Manatee and Sarasota. Not a lot in the way of larger population areas here, but just to reiterate what's going on, a strong thunderstorm, northwestern Hardy, northeast Manatee, southwest Polk, southeastern Hillsborough until 2 o'clock. 50-mile-an-hour winds are the main threats. Again, Sun City Center, that's what I know it as. Little Manatee River State Park, the Alafaya River State Park, Fort Greene, Fort Lonesome, Wiyuama. And then this one is for Bartow, Fort Meade, Mulberry, Bradley Junction, and Homeland. Again, your main threats here will be winds of 50 miles an hour. This is the same complex of thunderstorms that raked through portions of Pasco and Hillsborough County earlier. The storms are building west towards the coast. So if you do live in some of the areas like Bradenton and Palmetto and Ellington on over towards Anna Maria Island, up the road towards Ruskin, showers and storms here over the Hillsborough Bay area, back into Tampa Bay, a little bit of rain towards McDill. Scattered showers left over in Gibsonton. Heaviest storms now are pushing out of the Brandon area, moving south and east out of Bloomingdale towards Mulberry. Scattered lighter rain over Lakeland, Plant City, but still some decent lightning within this area as well. Leftover veil of rain here. We've mentioned that yesterday as the storms come through. We're still left with overcast skies and some light to moderate activity. But the stronger storms now are kind of trying to get going again back to from these areas back up to the north. Let's go back over to our cameras. Thunderstorms beginning to move into all three of our cameras that are presently on your screen. Right here in the Winter Garden area, again, you don't see much yet, but this thunderstorm is beginning to get going a little bit more right now. That's the one in the center of your screen with a little bit heavier rain is beginning to pick up a bit. Excuse me just one second, guys. Just lost connection for a brief second. And then the Lake Buena Vista camera shows you that thunderstorm. So this is the rowdy storm right now. This is your special weather statement. 50-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-inch size hail possible, coming down pretty good in the Lake Buena Vista area at this present time. But again, this whole complex is just spreading over central, western, southern sides of Orange County. So if you do live in the Orlando metro area, this is a pretty common sight. Once again, lightning is a big part of this. Now we have over 2,300 lightning strikes within Central Florida at the hour in the last 15 minutes. Over 2,300 lightning strikes as these thunderstorms continue for us here in that area. I'm going to go quad box so you guys can see all three cameras at the same point in time. Again, top left is Conway, top right is Winter Garden, and the bottom left is going to be Lake Buena Vista. Your main threats will be on the bottom of your screen, the 50-mile-an-hour winds, the coin-sized hail, the flooding rains. If you are starting to see some ponding on roadways, if you are starting to see a little bit of flooding, maybe on your side yards or low-lying areas in your neighborhood or areas that you travel, let me know in the comment section below. You know how these storms go. These storms develop. The first threat is going to be the potential for severe weather in the form of wind and hail. maybe even some rotation, although I don't expect that for today. But as we go deeper into storm coverage and the storms stick around, the flooding becomes the biggest threat for the most part, right? There's still going to be pockets of nasty storms there, but if these storms can sit over areas for hours on end, then you start to run into that excessive rainfall risk and some of the flood threat that was highlighted by the National Weather Service a little bit earlier. So again, Lake Buena Vista, right next to me, there's that thunderstorm. It is slowly developing east, but basically just kind of mushrooming out right now. There's no real forward movement with this, but rain is beginning to spread towards MCO and Lake Nona. Ton of lightning right now across I-4. Not a great drive for Oak Ridge, Millennium, Metro West, Gotha, Windermere areas. Even a couple of little showers and cells beginning to pop up towards Baldwin Park and Alafaya. This storm over southern Sumter County is getting stronger, just east of places like Dade City and Ridge Manor. This is a healthy thunderstorm across 98 and just west of 41, northern Hernando, southern Citrus counties, south and west of Floral City, north of Spring Hill. Some rain towards Crystal River, Lecanto, and Homosassa Springs. Get a little bit of a break in the action. Lighter rain right now, a lot of southwest sides of Pasco County and into portions of Pinellas and the western sides of Hillsborough County. Still some good showers and storms near Plant City, east of Brandon, east of the Valrico area, and then additional stronger storms on the southern flank of this line moving in. You can see the thunderstorms developing over Conway right now. So again, that's the cell that I just showed you on radar, right? That is beginning to kind of crop up and develop east of the actual main line. So here's Conway right here. That's our camera from Conway over Lake George and looking off in a general east direction. And you can see that cell just slipping right over Conway as we speak. Bring that up full for you guys so you can see it. Tammy says, just starting to get rain in Lockhart. Good morning to you, KT. Light rain in South Lakeland now. Again, appreciate all of our friends in the chat. Let me know in the comments section below what you're seeing. Decent little shelf cloud beginning to develop here. Look, the thunderstorm overall in the Orlando metro area is picking up in intensity, right? You know, the winds are beginning to pick up. The thunderstorm is spreading out. All the old outflow boundaries from yesterday are going to aid in what's going to be some pretty squirrely winds for a time as the storms get going. You can see that low-hanging shelf cloud there over the Conway area. So we're going to have some SLCs, my friends. We're going to have some scary-looking clouds. I'll monitor the situation. There's some dark low bases there, but overall, things are cooperating when it comes to any kind of rotation. But straight line, wind gusts, 40, 50 plus miles an hour in Metro Orlando right now, fairly widespread. So again, really good storm right now over the Conway area. Thunderstorm is also building back west towards Winter Garden. Take a look at the Winter Garden camera, now completely overcast. Lightning beginning to develop in this area with more heavy downpours beginning to come out. So we have very active cameras to show you guys live here on CFLW just before the 2 o'clock hour on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Take a quick second, hit that like button for me. Got a question about the forecast? Feel free to drop it in the comments section below. The thunderstorm continues over the attractions. Heavy rain. And again, right now, not significant enough where we have ponding on the roadways, but something to monitor for those areas. But the lightning is never fun in the attractions, right? Never great to have this early afternoon, peak, if I'm sure, attendance time, even with the heat of late June. And again, from time to time, you will probably hear some rumbles of thunder in my microphone. If you think you heard some rumbles of thunder from my microphone, you probably have. Once again, you know, I live in the Orlando metro area, and so I'm getting hit by this storm as well. Auburndale, overcast. Can hear the thunder. Can see the storm clouds all around me with the wind picking up. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Kenny in Sarasota, good to see you, friend. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to the channel. True Warrior of Jesus says, booming pretty good in Winter Garden right now. Yes, it is. Hey, go Gators. Dark clouds, but no rain in Davenport. Again, appreciate everyone taking a quick second, jumping into the chat, saying hi. Let me know what's happening in your area. That helps me out, right? Ground truth reports from you guys. It helps out our fantastic CFLW weather community. Everyone is tuning in because they want that interaction. They want to know what's happening in real time, and you guys can help provide that. Same situation with our technology here and our live camera network to be able to show you what's happening in real time in Central Florida. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. You heard that thunder? Yeah, it almost rattled the studio a little bit. It was pretty good. Whiskeypotamus says, in the southern portions of the villages, close to 301 and 470, dark clouds north and east of the location, praying for rain. So many of us are. Hopefully, again, we can avoid, right? We can avoid the potent severe storms, and we can avoid the worst flooding. Now, again, anytime we get a flash flood advisory or warning, it's going to appear automatically. Otherwise, I'll be checking our other information source, which is our National Weather Service advisories, for any additional flood advisories. At this point in time, it doesn't appear to be so. There's always that possibility. I have to check these out. Special weather statements, I believe, take priority, so I need to go and look. Now, all this is doing, guys, is it's showing you the county by county outline of our special weather statements, whereas on this input, you're actually seeing the polygons right now as well. Does look like our Lake Buena Vista camera is not cooperating today. Kind of on and off the network, it looks like. I'll do what I can to keep it up for you guys. Check out our Conway cam again here. I mean, just look at that low base to those clouds, guys. Pretty ominous indeed. But the winds were probably 30 plus a little bit earlier as that gust front came through. And again, I mentioned that in yesterday's broadcast as well. As these storms push out like this, you're going to get a solid gust front, a little bit cooler air behind it, but no rain initially, right? And sometimes within some of those thunderstorms complexes in a kind of very, sporadic event like today, some of your strongest winds will actually be before the rain and lightning move into your area. So you notice that we have seen the winds calm down here from Conway after the gust front moved through. Now we'll probably see the rain pick up and some lightning coming back in with this storm, but maybe not even as much wind as what we had a little bit earlier before the precipitation began to move into your area. But you will know that the gust front has moved through because you'll feel that cooler air come in behind it and likely a change in the wind direction as well. The Polish redneck. Winter Garden here, it is rainy. Yes, it is. Tom says, Hourglass area, Bumby and Cayley, downpour is here. Thank you for that report. Well, Kish, we have kind of a two-punch outlook as to adding additional cameras. If you're interested in potentially being a part of that, if you guys notice right now, we've put a QR camera on the top left-hand, QR code on the top left-hand side of your screen. Sponsoring could be anything from being a part of our weather camera network to actually sponsoring the channel, but that will get you to our email address. So the easiest thing to do right now is to scan that QR code, and literally it'll pull up your Gmail, whatever you use, and you can send us a message. Again, if you'd like to sponsor the channel, like the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, you could reach out via the email as well. And again, Bobby Lean and the team there at the Lean Law Firm, they're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. You get into an insurance claim process. Great folks, they'll walk you through it. They do offer free consultation and policy reviews, so you really have nothing to lose. If you're getting bogged down in that process and you're frustrated, reach out to the Lean Law Firm at leanonmelaw.com. Their QR code to get to the website is also on the screen as well. So again, right now, as I've mentioned, the storms in the southwest side of Metro Orlando are beginning to merge with some of the activity south and west. I fully expect that this line will begin to fill in across I-4 as we go through the 2 o'clock hour. So, and within some of this activity, especially the ones that are kind of out there by themselves, things are getting a little bit stronger. Notice the Four Corners area picking up a storm there with the opportunity for some rather large hail. Now we'll see if Maybe after one scan, the radar doesn't feel like there's that kind of hail size. It could be ingested with some significant heavy rain, and sometimes it will overdo the hail size. But you get the idea that if you live just west of 27 and Four Corners, that's a significant storm right now. There is no special weather statement at this point in time. The special weather statement for this cell was just expired at 1:45. We'll see what the Weather Service office wants to do. I think they're probably back there quarterbacking how they want to play this. They could determine that the winds aren't 40 miles an hour with these storms and leave all of them without special weather statements. They could determine that the entire complex could produce 40-mile-an-hour storm winds, and then you might get one of those extremely big boxes, or they could still pick out a couple of choice locations with the most potent cells within this whole embedded line. But clearly the storms haven't really lost intensity much. We're still pinging over 2,200 lightning strikes in this view in just the past 15 minutes. And the lightning in Orlando is still quite impressive. It actually is going up right now, up to 450 lightning strikes in just the past 15 minutes. Yeah, guys, if you are interested in my background, you can find kind of my quick bio on the page, but just so everyone knows, I was a television meteorologist for 25 years. 7 of those years, I worked in Oklahoma City, all right? I was an on-air Met for the ABC affiliate in Oklahoma City. You want to talk about some intense coverage and just getting it all in. And then for the last 10 years, before I moved over to the digital side, I was a meteorologist in Orlando for 10 years. And born and raised in Florida, by the way, too. So, I want to do something here. If you guys are experiencing any of that bad weather, let me know in the comment section below. So I want to bring up something that Jody just sent in the chat. How come no other news stations are covering this weather? Well, not a TV station, right? This is designed specifically for you guys. This is a live only channel, okay? I'm only on when there's impactful weather across Central Florida. It's not a forecast channel. You're not going to get the 5-day forecasts here. I'm only going to be on when there's impactful weather, but I cover and service a need for you guys, and that's why I appreciate you tuning in. First of all, a few things. One is YouTube. I can go on as early as I want. I can stay on as long as I want, right? There's not a big deal. We can go on for 12 hours in a row if we really need to before YouTube says, all right, cut it off. Secondly, though, the interaction is the best part about this, right? You know, being a TV Met for 25 years, in some ways I had to guess what you guys were thinking, what you guys wanted to see, and I had a very short window to provide that information. It's completely different here. Live chat I've got right next to me. I can answer your questions. You can let me know what's happening. It's the interactivity of this streaming platform that I think is a significant improvement as well. And of course, you know, we're just getting started here. We hope you guys like the platform, but we will continue to expand our camera network and other things to bring you guys as we go throughout the rest of the year and hopefully beyond as well. But the situation is that I have the ability to do this, and so I do it. And I do appreciate you guys' support and tuning in as well. Over nearly 800 people coming into the chat to join me on this early Tuesday afternoon. It shows you that you guys are interested in what we're doing, and we do appreciate that. Now, with that said, if you want to continue to get these updates whenever I'm on, just make sure you're a subscriber and have the notifications on. Again, that's going to be the bell symbol there on the screen. Make sure it's all notifications. And for this channel in particular, it's because it's a live only channel. So you're not going to get notifications when I have an update, you know, or a forecast video. That's not going to happen. If you get a notification from me, you know I'm on live and there's a reason to tune in. So I do suggest, if you want to make sure that you always catch when I'm on live, just have all notifications on. Okay. Southwest sides of our area. 2 special weather statements still continue for the next 7 minutes. Mulberry, Bartow, east of the Ruskin, Bradenton, Sarasota area, although this particular cell just east of 75 through portions of Manatee County getting a little bit stronger and could build west towards places like Palmetto and Bradenton as we go through the rest of the late 1 o'clock and into the 2 o'clock hour. The numbers that you see, by the way, are reporting stations and their wind gusts in miles an hour. This is their last report. So as the storms move through places like Temple Terrace and Plant City, they were producing 30, 35, even 40-mile-an-hour winds. And again, some reports of some power outages sporadically. So if you had some of that, let me know. Hopefully it has come back on. This thunderstorm continues to slowly develop to the east, now fairly potent over the eastern side of our area. Again, Conway Cam right here, southeast of downtown Orlando. You can clearly see that cell has now produced some heavier rain on the northern side of that camera as it looks east from Lake George and the Conway area. This is almost kind of like fingering out a little bit, right? Down towards Medical City and then our Arcoosie area. 417 is about ready to get wet. Some of the beautiful areas near downtown Orlando are getting wet, including Delaney Park, Azalea Park, and the Baldwin Park area, up to Fairview Shores and Princeton and Lee Road. Winter Park starting to see some of that rain as well. Additional thunderstorms continue to cluster north. Look, we're not said and done by any stretch, guys. Let me put the loop in just the last half hour. So watch these cells in just the last half hour. They're getting stronger and they're trying to work their way down. Still anticipating, we've had an earlier arrival of the storms today, still anticipating an earlier end, but this could be late afternoon before that's all said and done. And again, with the northeast flow at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, we're just getting a little bit more juice coming in from that broad spin associated with the 10% chance of tropical development off of the East Coast. Again, have they let it go? They probably did. So if you guys join me at 1 o'clock, we had a 10% ring. Hurricane Center will update at 2 p.m. And so it does look like their newest update said, you know what? This isn't going to develop. And we talked about that in yesterday's stream, that I didn't expect it. It doesn't mean there's not going to have some impacts. It just means that this is not going to develop into something that's going to bear a name, right? Or even a tropical depression. But you can clearly see the spin off the western edge of that front, and you can also see your mid-level clouds coming in from the northeast. And this is all, again, aiding in what we're getting here in Central Florida. So that's part of the focusing mechanism for the additional storms. But the east component to the wind, right? The east component to the wind is what's pushing the storms west. And that's why our western areas are getting the better storms today compared to the last several weeks, or maybe even more than a month. We've had more of a prevailing westerly wind, which has taken the west coast sea breeze and marched it inland enough where it keeps things dry. So it has been a bit of a flip-flop here. May not be that way for a long time, but the west coast will take what they can get with these storms at this point. Yeah, Amy, it is pretty nasty in downtown Orlando, and I appreciate you tuning in. Welcome to all of our new chatters. You will find, by the way, our moderators are in blue, and they're keeping a very watchful eye as to what I'm saying, and they're listening very intently. So if you have a question and I missed it, they will answer that question for you. You know, they're kind of, again, running the chat ship, and I do appreciate them jumping in and helping the channel in that way. But we're just clustering up storms in a non-severe fashion in a lot of areas. Additional heavier cells right now, Leesburg, Fruitland Park, Lady Lake. Anywhere that you see this green triangle is the opportunity for some small hail. I don't expect this to be a big threat today, but it's non-zero chance as well. We could get some P, maybe some dime-sized hail out of some of this activity. There's still, again, plenty of juice in the atmosphere, especially, again, areas that have not seen the storms yet. Your temperatures today were in the low to mid-90s before the storms move through. As an example, Ocala is still in at 93, plenty of juice in the atmosphere. DeLand is a rain-cooled 75, so an 18-degree temperature drop there, or 20-degree temperature drop because Ocala is now at 95. Orlando, Daytona in at 90. Because we're getting to the top of the hour, you'll see some of these numbers change with the hourly update reports. So Ocala from 1 to 2 o'clock went from 93 to 95. Inverness is actually in at 95 as well, with a thunderstorm just off towards the south. Executive Airport in Orlando is 93. MCO is now rain cooled at 81. Not a great scenario for arrivals and departures at MCO. There's a ton of lightning right now. That storm is not moving quickly. So I'd imagine we're going to have an airport weather warning and some delays there. Hey, Terry, sorry you're late. It's okay. We'll let it slide this time, Terry. Just this time, though. Wood Pro Shop says crazy weather in Four Corners in the Davenport area. Yeah, I mentioned Four Corners a little bit earlier, near this triangle, right? Actually, two now. So you've got one here near Four Corners and one a little bit closer to Champions Gate. But yeah, right along 27 and just to the west, a lot of lightning associated with this storm. Yeah, significant heavy downpours. And again, you know, as we get deeper into the afternoon hours, you can clearly see the coverage of these storms is quite impressive for today. You know, down the road, it may take another hour or two, but we have to really watch out for the potential for some flooding. These are significant storms. They're not moving very quickly right now, producing 1 to 3 inches per hour in many locations and more than that in some. We'll take a look right now at that precip rate. You guys know I like this product because it's a great indicator of where there could be flooding, right? When we look at these precip rates, especially with storms that aren't moving very quickly. So anywhere you guys see blues or blacks, these are going to be rainfall rates that are 2.5, 3+ inches of rain. So downtown Orlando right now, getting about 3 inches of rain an hour. If the storm doesn't move, that means Orlando gets 3 inches of rain in an hour. Obviously, storms move, they drift, if anything else. So we're likely to not get that full 3-1, 3-2. But with a storm that's not moving much, we could get really close. Same thing for Hunters Creek. Woodshop mentioned Four Corners. That's nearly 4-inch rain per hour rates in the Four Corners area right now in a bullseye. Again, localized flooding, ponding on roads and low-lying areas will be very prominent. And then the question becomes, does it become more widespread than that? On our special weather statements, we have a few areas with some heavier rain there, mainly east of 75, but a couple of spots, again, in the blacks and the blues, 2.5, 3+ inches here. Not nearly as much rain as I've mentioned before. Once the storms pass through, not like Newport Richey or Carrollwood or Town and Country won't get additional showers, but the overcast skies right now are producing lighter rainfall totals here. There's a storm going up in the Sumter County area near Webster, 2.5, 3 inches of rain there. This is a significant storm near Leesburg. That's over 4 inches of rain an hour. Fruitland Park, west side of Leesburg, over 44.27, real darn close to the turnpike. I would not want to see a 4-inch per hour thunderstorm move across the turnpike. We know folks driving too fast could cause some hydroplaning. You got to slow it down. West of Umatilla, nearly 4 inches of rain per hour. And again, the cells north of us, some of them are picking up too, and they're just beginning to get going. All right, go back over to our reflectivity product. We have lost the 2 special weather statements there. I'm going to continue to check for any flood advisories. This is not a flood advisory for Orlando if you're curious. Oh, it is a flood advisory for Orlando. Why is that coming up in brown? All right, that's something I got to look at later. This should be like a light green. Anyway, so here we go. It was just issued. So we didn't miss anything because it was issued at 1:59. So we missed, it was 2 minutes ago. But here we go. This is what I'm talking about, right? Now this storm has sat over Orlando and portions of Orange County long enough where we're now going to start to see some flood advisories issued because of that. So flood advisory in effect till 3:30. First of all, again, flash flood warnings will probably be a little bit shorter in duration because the Weather Service is trying to cover the most prominent flooding. When there's flood advisories, it can be flood advisory, flash flood advisory. There's multiple different kinds. This is just a broad flood advisory. They typically go for a little bit longer in duration. Really, one that lasts just 90 minutes, that's on the shorter side of a flood advisory. A lot of times in Florida, we get 2.5, 3 hour flood advisories. But anyway, for the next 90 minutes until 3:30, minor flooding in low-lying areas. Poor drainage areas, water over roadways, and overflowing poor drainage areas. All right, 2 to 3 inches of rain with minor flooding ongoing or expected to begin shortly with an additional 1 to 2. So now for portions of Orange County, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches of rain. Some of the areas included Orlando, Oak Ridge, Conway, Belle Isle, Pine Castle, the SeaWorld area, Universal Studios, Dr. Phillips, Bay Hill, Edgewood, Tangelo Park, Sky Lake, Williamsburg, Taft, Holden Heights, South Chase, and Meadowwoods. For those who aren't very familiar with Orlando, that's kind of like downtown Orlando south, right? You know, Holden Heights area is south, Millennia is south. I don't even remember the exact ones. Conway is south, Belle Isle, back down to Lake Buena Vista and SeaWorld here. So basically, downtown Orlando to the south and to the west is where we have this flood advisory. Again, in this graphic, you're going to see it show up as a county by county. Don't have the flood advisories on this graphic. I don't have the ability, unfortunately. If there was a flash flood warning, it would show up. But you can clearly see it lines up with the most significant rain at the hour. 2 o'clock, still busy on the roads here in Orlando. Take it easy. Hopefully the flooding gets out of here before the drive home. Something I'm going to have to monitor for you guys. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Some of our chat will come up live on the screen. It's a new feature we have here at CFLW to help you guys out. I can answer these questions live. So instead of digging into the chat, some of your questions will pop up. Priority goes to our members. Priority goes to those who give super chat, super thanks. But we're all in this together, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. That's why our moderators are also here as well. If something slips through the cracks and I'm busy, they can try and help to answer those questions because they're listening very intently. What do you do in a flash flood? Well, the first thing is that you just don't try and drive through it, right? Turn around, don't drown. If you're in a home that is not experiencing flooding, it's just the best place for you to be. You know, people get in trouble in potential flash flooding situations because they try and go into areas experiencing flooding and they don't understand or are aware of how deep that the water is across the roadway. It takes just 6 inches of fast moving water to run a car off of the road. You don't need much. Conway we go. This is an area under the flood advisory, right? You can see that the rain has set in. As I mentioned, the wind is not as strong now, despite the fact that the rain is coming down in buckets across Conway. This is a nice clear shot. You know, we can see pretty darn far from this camera looking east across Lake George, but it's certainly, you know, rain veiled at this point. So anywhere from downtown Orlando all the way now towards like the Dean Road, Waterford Lakes area, even as far north as Baldwin Park. Watch out for that. Back down towards Oak Ridge, Meadowwoods, MCO, and Celebration. Hey, Veronica, loving this. Is like y'all squad, but dedicated to Central Florida. Well, no doubt. We are a live channel for Central Florida and for you guys as well, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Jody wants to know how long these storms will last. Jody, I'm going to give it at least a few more hours. Earlier initiation today, the storms should drive out quicker, so we're likely not talking about sunset storms, but for the rest of the afternoon hours, yes, I think we are still going to be dealing with it. Hey, Rusty, how you doing? Hope you're well. You got a PJE. I remember what you said. If there's big weather, you'll be here. I will do my best. So again, live look from Conway. Buckets of rain there coming down. The thunderstorm is still impacting Lake Buena Vista. The rain is not as significant now. It's moving away. So you can actually see that if you look at the top of your screen, that's the storm moving out of that camera view. There's still some leftover rain right now over Lake Buena Vista, but the heaviest part is kind of beginning to move away from that particular camera. And on the edge of all of this activity has been our wind garden camera. It's an interesting shot because we're looking back off towards the west. Some of the thunderstorms are being picked up here on the left-hand side of your screen, which is to the south. To the north and west of that camera is going to be the right-hand side of your screen, where there's even a little bit of sunshine. And again, those areas that haven't experienced the rain of yet, although it's becoming more few and far between, still temperatures right now in the low to mid 90s. All right, I see Nautilus sent a gifted membership, and Paranormal Pineapple 1928 received that gifted membership. Let's get the hearts out in the chat for Nautilus for gifting the membership to the channel, being a part of the Storm Squad. If you guys want to do that, you do get access to custom badges and emojis during our live streams, and as well, you get access to exclusive member short videos. In between these live streams, I will put out some exclusive member short videos, my behind the scenes thoughts, when I think I might next be on, when the next severe weather threat is going to be. So I do appreciate all of our members of the channel as well. Again, you get something out of it, and it's a way to support us, and thank you very much for doing so. Sherry says there is wicked lightning right now at Four Corners. Nancy says, thank you, Rusty, for keeping up with this weather from Fort Meade. I haven't heard of any airport delays specifically. My advice would be to check MCO's airports. They have likely had airport arrivals and departures. We're tracking a lot of different things behind the scenes here. I can try and look at airport delays from time to time, but probably easiest for you guys just to check in. I mean, that changes very quickly, and with all the arrivals and departures in the MCO, that's a hard thing to keep up with. All right, so let's go back out to the big view. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. This storm is probably the strongest in our area right now. And again, I even have the ability to let my radar system tell me what the strongest storm is. But with my eye, it's down 27 right now. Four Corners, Davenport, Haines City, lining up across I-4, Champions Gate, Celebration. Not a great area. Again, things are always snarled traffic-wise here, up 192, the 417 interchange. Then you start getting into the Disney World exits and the I-Drive exits, and it's always a disaster. And clearly these storms have decided to call I-4 their home for this afternoon because they're just lined up right now. Again, anytime you see that green triangle is an opportunity for some hail within that activity, something to monitor. Even east of Orlando right now, this is some good lightning. Lightning count here around 260 lightning strikes, down a bit from the maximum, but still quite significant. On our broad view, we had 2,200 lightning strikes. We're down by about 200 now, but you can clearly see that as this activity has faded a bit, additional stronger storms are redeveloping behind it. So it's not like we're going to get one clean push of storms. So I want to make sure everyone's clear about that. Just because you've already had a good thunderstorm that might have even had a special weather statement that produced 40 or 50 mile an hour winds, you've already had that move through. There's no guarantee that some additional activity to the north won't redevelop and push back through your area later today. The one thing, if we're going to break up the storms, that it could do is lessen the risk for flooding. Because, if you're going to get 4 inches of rain today, you're going to want 2 inches, and then a couple of hours later get 2 inches. That is likely to not cause them much problems if you get the 4 inches of rain in just an hour or two. That's the problem right now in Orlando, as this cell is basically not moving. Little thunderstorm developing over Deltona as an example, just north of DeBerry and the St. John's, crossing I-4. You live in the Sanford area. Thunderstorms developing there. A couple of storms now have drifted as far north as Winter Park, near Maitland, Lockhart, Altamont Springs, Wekiva Springs, and Apopka. Storms are very few and far between, but there's even a couple of lightning strikes still here in the downtown Tampa area, including South Tampa, right across 275 in the Howard Franklin. You can see the lightning strikes from our cameras. Again, so even without anything significant, we still have 9 lightning strikes in this zone. And these storms will continue to make a run south into the east. So anyone viewing south and east of this line, Sarasota down to the Port Charlotte, Fort Myers area, Sebring, Lake Placid, these storms are likely to drift into your area the deeper into the afternoon that we go. Mushkipotamus says, dark cloud, lots of thunder lightning here in the southern sector of the Villages. Wars' Weapon says, getting nasty here in Winter Park. Yeah, a lot of lightning, no doubt about it, Chicken Nugget. Maryland, it absolutely is going to cool things down. Look, if you get a thunderstorm in your area, you should expect your temperature to get back into the 70s. So that's good. There could be a silver lining out of all of this activity down the road towards the end of the day. If we can push most of this out between 5 and 6, you might get a couple of cooler, dry hours with daylight still to end the day. Of course, we're about just a week past our summer solstice, still plenty of daylight this time of the year. Obviously, we're, even though it's late June, we're in the heart of summertime temperatures. It's nasty out there. Heat advisories the last several days. The storms have been being fueled by that heat, but also by a little bit of instability to our north and to our east, enhancing the sea breeze storms. Again, for our East Coast, I'm not going to rule out some scattered rain. You can see that developing now. It's just not going to be as widespread as central and west, as interior and west. Still a few scattered showers are possible along our coastlines, and I'll be monitoring that. Those should be non-severe, but certainly the opportunity for some rain today across US 1, A1A, and I-95. This storm, quite honestly, I thought should have never been allowed to not have a special weather statement. They've reissued it. Again, the flood advisory area back under a special weather statement. See what kind of gusts we're getting here. So this is likely to cause problems for MCO. It's trying, this little cell here, which is strongest in Winter Park, is trying to build south. And the reason why is now the airport has produced a basically 40-mile-an-hour wind that is going to, categorize a special weather statement criteria with winds of 40 miles an hour. So there you go. 38 at the executive airport. This cell tracking back south and west. I think the whole line is going to try and do the same thing eventually, but very slowly. Some of the times of arrival. You can see the Conway cam is included within this. So let's get to the details. Special weather statement for winds of 40. Bit of motion with this one. That's good news. Quarter-inch size hail, Orlando, Kissimmee, Winter Park, Castleberry, Maitland. So again, quarter-inch size hail, pea-sized hail. All right. Not going to cause any damage. Not a big deal as long as we don't get too much of it. But embedded within this thunderstorm, we could get some smaller hail. This is continuing to develop over MCO, places like Lake Nona, Pine Castle, and Edgewood, Meadowwoods, Medical City. Again, your main threat, just gusty winds of 40, but the flood advisory is here too, right? In some of these areas, especially on the western side of this polygon. So low-lying areas, ponding on roadways, and potentially some of that water going over roads as well. We're starting to now get into a little bit more of a concerning situation with our central, south central, southwest sides of Orange County, because this is not moving very quickly. We already have that flood advisory. So we got to watch out for how much additional rain. If we start on the higher end of the range, the Weather Service was talking about the 4 to 5 inch range. Now we're going to start talking about additional flood issues here through the late afternoon hours. That storm is also spiking from Celebration to Davenport, Four Corners, Champions Gate, Haines City, Lake Hamilton, the Dundee areas east of Winter Haven, right down 27. Significant rain there, a lot of lightning, maybe again the opportunity for some hail. My system's pinning on rather large hail sizes. I don't necessarily agree with that, but we can also check out another data source and see if we have any hail here. And it is pinging some hail. So again, this would be very tiny pea-sized hail, Winter Park, Azalea Park, down towards MCO, kind of following Cimarron. This little bullseye right here near Haines City. This would be about 8/10 of an inch, would be about nickel size hail. So let's say there's the opportunity for some nickel size hail down 17 between Haines City and Lake Hamilton. You know anyone who lives in that area? Hopefully they've got the car in the garage or under some kind of carport covering if they can. If you live south of that area, this cell is tracking south towards Lake Wales. Probably a good idea to get the car inside just in case, okay? This is not one of those large, prominent hail makers, but when we're talking about hail and damage, better safe than sorry, right? Better safe than having to deal with that situation. And look, the winds are strong down here as well. The Bartow area just had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. Adrian says, good afternoon again in the Villages. Starting to sound like yesterday. Glad you're here. My daughter is in Bradenton. She said it's so bad there. Loudest boom she's ever heard. Yep, definitely some good thunderstorm activity. Zigzag says, hello, Rusty and everybody. Doing yard work, stopped in for a break. Very sunny in Palm Bay. Yeah, Brevard County, good so far. The thunderstorms that we're talking about here in the Bradenton area, they'll be a little bit easier to see from the Tampa radar. So these are the storms that are over the Palmetto, Bradenton, Bayshore Gardens area. Decent storms indeed. 109 lightning strikes here, basically just beginning to build west towards the coast. Additional scattered rain right down towards St. Pete Beach in the Skyway. Lighter rain here, most of the western sides of Hillsborough and the northern sides of Pinellas counties. Places like Town and Country and Carrollwood up 589, the Veterans up to the Citrus Park area, Odessa, East Lake, Tarpon Springs, all with moderate rain. But earlier today, some good thunderstorms there. We had that over Wesley Chapel, Pebble Creek earlier, back down towards Temple Terrace and Mango, but still some leftover showers here. Now from the Tampa radar, again, you can see the storms here in Polk County, slipping into Hardy County. There's your, it's easier to also see for the Tampa radar, the outflow boundary of these storms. This is why I mentioned if you live south and east, get prepared. That outflow boundary is moving your way. Additional cells on the stronger side are likely to develop along and behind that. And then that cell right here, this one is likely to warrant the next special weather statement. Both the Tampa and the Melbourne radars are picking up very intense rain out of this, maybe even the opportunity for some hail. Lake Alfred, Davenport, Haines City. Again, tracking south along 27. Jaguar, yes, I was. Guys, let's get the heart out in the chat for the 99-cent super chat from XPR Plumbing. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much for that. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. Again, appreciate the super thanks. And if you have a question, our members, super thanks, super chats will appear on the screen. So appreciate that from everyone who's watching. If nothing else, if you wouldn't mind doing me a quick favor, hit that like button for me, subscribing to the channel. Both of those things help the audience out of this channel more than you guys think. I'm sure a lot of you are tuning in for the very first time for today, and the reason why is you saw it on the home page of your YouTube. Well, guess what? The more interaction we have on this channel, the more YouTube says, hey, people like this channel, they're interacting, they're talking, they're liking, they're subscribing. We're going to recommend it to folks who don't even know that the channel exists. That's one way that we grow, and we appreciate you guys doing that too. So thank you very much. Hope you're doing well on this now. Well, we'll still call it early Tuesday afternoon. Certainly earlier than what we normally see in the summer months, but this is a unusual sea breeze pattern for today, because it's not just the sea breeze. It's being enhanced by some mid-level winds out of the north and east with a lot of instability and the opportunity to continue to see widespread showers and storms, mainly favoring our central and western areas through the remainder of the afternoon hours. Earlier development likely means an earlier departure of these storms, but for the next couple of hours, things could be on the rowdier side. If you're just tuning in, we do have an excessive rainfall risk in this light green for our western areas. These are drought-stricken areas. It takes a little bit of time for that soil to get prepared again to really absorb a lot of that water, so that drier top layer can really produce some runoff. And if we're going to get 2-4 inches of rain in some of these areas, we could have some excessive rainfall. Now, the interesting thing about it right now is, although that's the area that has been highlighted for excessive rain, the flood advisory that we have right now is going to be for the Orlando area, from the downtown Orlando area south and west, for the opportunity for some 2 to 4 inch rainfall totals here. So the flood advisory goes until 3:30. And again, it includes Orlando, Oak Ridge, Conway, Belle Isle, Pine Castle, the attractions including SeaWorld, Universal, Dr. Phillips, Bay Hill, Edgewood, Tangelo Park, Sky Lake, Williamsburg, Taft, Holden Heights, South Chase, and Meadowwoods. Basically, a lot of the southern side of the Metro Orlando area. And earlier today, we were not under a risk of severe storms at all. It was the general thunderstorm risk, but just before I came on, the Storm Prediction Center turned us into a marginal risk interior west. That's a 1 out of 5 on the scale. It's the darker green. The lighter green is just your general thunderstorm risk. It includes basically all of the state and the southeast. So the I-95 corridor could still see a few storms, but we're going to favor the most activity and the strongest activity to be interior and west. As I've mentioned, additional storms continue to develop to the north. They're getting more potent. We now have a new special weather statement that's in effect right now, and that is going to be for that storm that I mentioned a little bit earlier up in the Leesburg area. It's beginning to pulse up right now, and so let me give you the information on that. Make sure that our wind gusts are on as well, so if we get something out of Leesburg, we'll see. There is a reporting station right in the heart of that cell. So the general part of this special weather statement goes until 3 o'clock. South movement at 10, quarter-inch size hail, pea-sized hail, 50-mile-an-hour winds, Leesburg, Eustis, Tavares, Lady Lake, and Mount Dora. Let's track it. So from the area of interest, Fruitland Park now, Leesburg 243, Bassville Park 251, Sunnyside 256, and Tavares Inn at 302. That is where the most intense part of that cell is. However, these areas are already getting some rain. So that is where the bulk of the activity will come in time-wise, but you're going to get some activity before that, including the Eustis, Mount Dora, Umatilla areas, eventually Yalhalla, Astatula, back down 27 and 19. So this thunderstorm basically tracking due south. There is still some nasty weather developing west of there towards Wildwood and Lake Pan, I-75 to the northeast side of Citrus County. Southern Marion County, Bellevue. That's a developing stronger storm. The bulletin from the National Weather Service looks like this. Strong thunderstorm impacting west central Lake, northwest Orange counties through 3 p.m. Doppler radar tracking that strong thunderstorm near mid-Florida lakes to Fruitland Park, moving south at 10. 50-mile-an-hour winds and some pea-sized hail in some of the areas that I've already mentioned. So there you go. Once again, just because you've been hit once doesn't mean you're not going to get a second punch. Daughter on I-Drive now and flooded. Rob, let me ask you, can you be a little bit more specific? When you say that, do you mean that that International Drive is flooded in some areas, meaning that she's in her car, or that she lives near I-Drive and wherever she lives, she's seeing some flooding? Because that's important, right? Well, I appreciate you saying that, Adrian. Thank you very much for that. So again, we might be getting to hear the first signs of the trouble that I was talking about, where we're going to start to get some of the major areas of Orlando beginning to encounter some flooding. So if it is the I-Drive corridor, that's a problem. Yes, I was. XPR Plumbing, yes, I was. You could have found me in other TV stations across the country in a 25-year career, but yes, the last 10 years I was here in Orlando. Yeah, I'm just taking a second here because if Rob is still in the chat, Rob Jones, I'd love to get a little bit more information about the iDrive being flooded. The Rosen Inn next to McDonald's. Okay. I know what you're talking about, Rob. Thanks. So a good little chunk of the I. So let me find my bearings here. There's the 417. We got to go north. So here's the beach line. You got iDrive up and down this area east of I-4. Enough flooding now where we're starting to see some of the roads getting covered up with that. So that ends up being a problem. First of all, it's a tourist district, right? So you have a lot of folks who aren't locals. Maybe they're not used to the kind of thunderstorms we get in Central Florida, and they want to be places and they don't want to worry about the weather, and I don't blame them. The problem is it can cause extra issues with that. So this is a bad area to see flooding. It's never good to see any kind of flooding, but additional problems come along when you're talking about the potential for flooding down in the attractions area, including iDrive. I'm going to switch back over, guys, to the Melbourne radar. We can 1-2 punch it. If there are more storms over Tampa, we'll go back to that one. But I'm going to let my system show us where the strongest storms are. So basically, I'm putting this into a mode where I'm saying, tell me where the worst cells within all this activity are. It's still the one over 27, right? I don't think it's moving north and east. It's probably just expanding. But the opportunity for some hail continues in that Haines City, Dundee area, right along 27. You can see the winds. Auburndale, Winter Haven, they've been producing winds of nearly 40 miles an hour for a while here. So that's a stout storm. Second one on the list is going to be up here. It's going to be our special weather statement storm. Again, a little bit more forward speed with this one. And the bronze medal will go to the storms all the way down in the Venice area. And you would expect that, right? As I've mentioned, along this leading edge is where we're likely to have the worst weather. But redevelopment north is a thing for at least the next couple of hours. Now, our cameras have quieted down a little bit, right? That's good news. Nice to see things just a touch calmer. Let's go one by one and show you those. We'll go live to our Lake Buena Vista camera. That shower, it's still raining in Lake Buena Vista. A little bit hard to see maybe from this camera shot, but the most intense part of the cell has moved south into the east. So improving conditions for this part of the attractions, but Lake Buena Vista is west of I-4. Most of iDrive is east of I-4, right? And that's the problem. So you get up there kind of on the south side, just north of 528, which is the beach line. And those are the areas that are going to have some, first of all, very busy. Secondly, flooding potential there, as already imagined. And it's not going to surprise me if additional streets and neighborhood roads begin to pick up additional heavy rain as well. I don't think there's much movement to the north. Sometimes as they develop, that algorithm can throw a wrong track in, and I'll try and always reiterate that. There's Conway. Now, if you see that little blip in the screen, if you guys saw that, I know I did, that's lightning. So there's still some decent lightning in the Conway area with moderate rain right now, an area under the flood advisory. Again, if you're just tuning in from downtown Orlando, south and west in Orange County, flood advisory, potentially 3 to 5 inches of rain before it's all said and done. leading to localized flooding, ponding on roadways, low-lying areas, maybe even some water over roads. Hopefully not widespread, but that opportunity unfortunately exists with the activity that we've already seen and the potential for more activity through the rest of the afternoon hours. Over to Winter Garden. This will be a camera that will be able to track the special weather statement storm coming into this shot from Lake County. Now, on the left-hand side of your screen, we're basically looking due west from this camera. That is just kind of the tail end of that storm that's moved through like the Four Corners area. Notice it's a break in the action right now due west, but that thunderstorm is going to be moving back into that camera if it holds together coming out of the Leesburg area. So we should likely see some good activity in this camera shot over the next, let's say, hour or so. And again, if you guys notice, we made even a little bit of changes to the channel even from when we last premiered here about 2 months ago. We made some changes just starting yesterday. Still a few things to work out. We're going to change some of these where these locations of our fonts are and our locators. But you can see that from Winter Garden. I want you guys to be aware that is Winter Garden. Rob says not first time there, but Uber might be a little late. I can understand that. Listen, if you don't have to move through areas of flood, just don't do it. It's just so dangerous. You know, we see video all the time of folks who think they can make it through and they get stuck, and then you're out money and insurance claim and all that. And the Lien Law Firm, our sponsor of the channel, can help you out if that happens. Now you notice that has turned into a red polygon. So now we have a severe thunderstorm warning. So let's get into that. I'm going to go full screen here with that, guys, real quick. So this is going to be for Lake County. Let me get you the details here coming up in just 1 second. If I'm taking a slight break in the action, I apologize. Part of my system is moving a little bit slow today. Okay. So severe thunderstorm warning is now in effect for Lake County. Let's get the information on it right here. I've got to try and pick out the box rather than the other one. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Lake County till 3 o'clock. Now we've got 3/4 inch size hail. All right. We've got 60-mile-an-hour winds. We've got a storm that's building in intensity over places like Leesburg, Eustis, Tavares, Lady Lake, and the Mount Dora area. Let me give you the details on that. West Central Lake County, Northwest Orange County. So, I mean, it slivers into Northwest Orange County, but it's even west of Apopka here. Severe thunderstorm located over Lake Griffin, moving south at 10. 60-mile-an-hour winds and some penny-sized hail. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Leesburg, Eustis, Tavares, Lady Lake, and Mount Dora. Again, prepare. You just want to be on a north side window when you see this, right? Storm coming your way. Obviously, if you live in this area, you're going to see this storm coming in from the north. Stay away from the north side windows just in case there is some hail in your area. 3/4 inch, penny size. We get real close to damaging criteria. Just a little bit bigger, nickels, and you start to see that potential for some damage to roofs and cars. Well, Nautilus was out because power was out for a bit there in Eustis. Well, you're getting hit pretty good right now, Nautilus, no doubt. You are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now that goes until 3 o'clock. This cell is really ramping up. Mascot 301, Groveland 307, Mineola 308, and how about, oh, we froze. Uh-oh. Okay. I noticed the count went way down. Okay. Can you guys see me now? Is it back? Okay. I don't know what happened there, guys. Glad we're back, though. Good now? Okay. I almost ended the stream. I was deep into this severe thunderstorm warning, tracking it, and I looked up and we lost like 700 viewers. And so when we lose that, I know there's a problem. So sorry about that. Interesting, because we're on fiber internet. We should be fine, but probably need to talk to someone. Underground fiber, right? We've really like upped everything here to be on as much as possible, and all power backup supplies and all that. Anyway, who knows? Could have been something downstream, but glad we're back. I'm not exactly sure what you missed. If you are just tuning in again, there is now a severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County, right? This is a severe storm. It's moving off to the south. These are the times of arrival for these areas. So I want to check one more thing here real quick, guys. All right, I'll have to check that out later. I'm missing one of my slides. Anyway, all right. So severe thunderstorm warning, Lake County. That storm is producing 60-mile-an-hour winds and some 3/4-inch size hail. So penny-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Time of arrival looks like this. Howie in the Hills, 247. Montverde, 3 o'clock. Mascot, 301. Groveland, 307. Mineola, 308. Claremont Inn at 313. So this is the most stout storm in the area right now. I'm going to bring back on the severe thunderstorm warnings and the special weather statements, and you guys can see those. Special weather statement continues for Orlando for the next 4 minutes for winds of 40 miles an hour. Again, a triangle-shaped special weather statement for southern Marion County. That includes Bellevue for the next 18 minutes. Other places, Weirsdale, Silver Spring Shore, Summerfield. Again, that one goes until 3 p.m. So as I've mentioned, these storms to the north are beginning to develop a little bit more prominently now. Storms south and west of Orlando are holding together. Still some hail potential, Davenport, Haines City, and Lake Wales. Okay, we're back. Appreciate everyone hanging with me. Yes, you did, Cole. Yes, you did, my friend. Sorry about the quick technical delay, but I'm glad you guys stuck with me. We're right back to the viewer count we had earlier, so we're rolling. I'm going to switch back here to our other layout real quick. So these cameras will go whew, and they'll move across the screen. How about that? Live look to our winter garden camera. Again, that will catch that Lake County storm. Now, what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen is not that storm. That's the storm, kind of the northern extent of that storm that's all the way down towards like the Four Corners area. But if that cell in Lakeland, excuse me, if that cell in Leesburg holds together, it is moving off to the south. New weather statement for Orlando, says Amy. Okay. $1.27 in Eustis. Let's see here. Again, really neat shot from our winter garden camera. Sorry guys, running into a little bit of technical issues behind the scenes here. Oh, what happened here? Sorry guys. Obviously you guys are seeing the winter garden camera. I'm trying to bring up another input. Let me see if I can do this here. There we go. Now I'm back. That was my fault. Apologies. Got a lot of technology in the background here. Sometimes it runs swimmingly good, as you guys know. Other times it can be, like I said, a fickle mistress. But that's what I wanted. We're good. We'll go back into it. So Amy said there was another special weather statement. It's not going to be for a storm. All right, not going to be for a storm. We'll see if they've issued another flood advisory. So now a severe thunderstorm warning. Okay. Well, no, that's for up there. Flood advisory 3:30, special statement 3 o'clock. Okay. So there is a new special weather statement. That's going to be for the one up here. I don't see anything new for the Orlando area. Again, my system will pick it up, just throw it live on the screen. And the great thing about it, guys, is that you don't need me sitting here telling you everything, because you'll see it on your screen. This is the great thing about the system that we use. You'll see exactly what warning is in your area. You will see when it expires, and then you will see the impacts. So for the severe thunderstorm warning, I'll just take off the special weather statement so it's a little bit easier for you to see. For the severe thunderstorm warning in northern Lake County, it goes for the next 13 minutes till 3 o'clock. Your threats are 60-mile-an-hour winds and 3/4-inch size hail. So you can clearly see within that polygon, what are the threats? So you can always get a good idea. I don't have to sit here and go over it all the time. It's clearly on your screen. Bracketing this are special weather statements, kind of one rung lower than a severe thunderstorm warning. Winds of mainly 40 miles an hour up in southern sides of Marion County, but now for the northern sides of Sumter County, again, you have that storm building west towards the Villages and Wildwood. New special weather statement there for winds of up to 50 miles an hour and some 1/4-inch size hail. So if you do live in places like Wildwood and the Villages, this is coming down in buckets right now. A lot of lightning, over 600 lightning strikes in this view in just the last 15 minutes. And we are zoomed in tight. This is not a lot of square mileage, guys, to have over 600 lightning strikes in a 15-minute time frame. Eastern side of this is a severe thunderstorm warning. Western side of this is going to be your special weather statement, but there's not much of a difference right now. That is a healthy storm over places like the Villages and Wildwood. Again, all of this is trying to drift off to the south, trying to get a little bit more forward speed within some of this activity as well. You can clearly see on that leading edge, we've now hit Leesburg, over Tavares, over Mount Dora. Gusts right now, we haven't had anything reported yet in Leesburg. That last report was at 1:53, so we haven't had the new report yet. Pinging the opportunity for some hail in the Mount Dora area. If you do live in these areas, please keep that in mind. Notice that the thunderstorms are beginning to line up and merge on the northern side of Metro Orlando. So now this storm is beginning to pulse up over places like Apopka and Lockhart, especially over Altamont Springs and Castleberry and Winter Springs. Again, right across I-4, a lot of lightning in this Forest City as well. It's going to be a wet drive there across I-4. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning continues for Lake County. I've not seen anything tornado-wise, guys. As these storms interact and merge, you can get areas of broad rotation. You know, that happens a lot when you're talking about mergers like this or old outflow boundaries, but typically a little bit broader than what we would need to see anything. Now, look, don't get me wrong. You see some SLCs out there. You can see some scary looking clouds. But the opportunity for a significant potential for tornado is low today. It's not zero, but it's low. I can always check out the velocity here. You know, there's your 40, by the way, in Leesburg. So there's your update. That does look to be broad and somewhat weak rotation there. There's not going to be a lot of inbound wind there. You notice how these maroons are very weak. Your incoming winds are much stronger, but there's not a lot of outgoing winds. So the couplet is very, very broad and weak. Once again, Orlando is covered up right now, so that flood advisory continues. If we do get a flash flood warning, that'll just show right up. So you guys will know that that's the case. Again, special weather statements bracket our severe thunderstorm warning. Additional stronger storms continue. A lot of Polk County, northern side of Osceola. Look, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, you guys don't need much more rain. You guys have had a ton of rain lately, but now we're getting additional stronger storms developing there. Look at this pulse thunderstorm that's cropped up just south of St. Cloud, along and east of the Turnpike, south of 192. That's a potent storm. The coverage today is going to be extreme. Central western side of the state. The eastern side, which has had the most prolific activity, is actually the drier part across central Florida for today. Still could see a few scattered showers and an isolated storm, Palm Coast, Daytona Beach, Titusville, Merritt Island, Melbourne, Palm Bay, but not as much more isolated, generally speaking, much less significant. Looks like we do have a new special weather statement for portions of Sarasota County, just south and east of Sarasota, moving down towards Port Charlotte, winds of 50 miles an hour there. And again, if you live in northern Lake County, you guys are under a severe thunderstorm warning. Rusty says, still dark outside, no thunder, rain at the moment here in Pasco. So that's the interesting thing about it. Remember, again, behind some of these storms, you get the overcast skies, you get the veil of light, maybe moderate rain, could even still get a little bit of lightning. But as far as intensity, likely not unless you get a second cell to come back in. Now, the atmosphere in some of these areas is what we call raked or destabilized some, or more stable than what it was, right? winds 30, 40 miles an hour within some of this activity. You can even see the 40-mile-an-hour winds still back down in the Plant City area. So we've had some strong gusty winds. That is going to be a threat. You can see that on the bottom of your screen. I put what I expect to be the main threats. And towards the end of this, you get to the flooding rain threat, because now as we get deeper into the afternoon, these storms continue to stick around for hours on end in areas that have seen multiple rounds of storms or cells that aren't moving much get into the opportunity for flooding. And that's why we have the flood advisory right now for the central and the southern sides of Orange County, including downtown Orlando. William says, hello from Melbourne, Florida. It's good to be back, Rusty. We have had some pretty intense, severe weather here in Melbourne, and it had some pea-sized hail. Okay. When was that last? Wednesday. There we go. We have a character limit on our chat that we might have to up. I didn't get your full message, but I see it. Last Wednesday mixed in with a downpour. And that, by the way, William, is going to be a very typical scenario here. You're going to have some embedded heavier storms with the opportunity for some hail being produced out of that with the activity that we're seeing for today. I don't expect the hail size to be astronomically large. That's why I put the coin size hail in there. But with this severe thunderstorm warning, we're getting 3/4 inch sized hail or penny sized hail. And that is on the cusp of potential damaging hail. Would not want to have my car outside with this. Hopefully the roofs are going to be just fine. But if I have the voluntary opportunity to get the car under some kind of shelter, I'm doing that in Lake County, just to be on the safe side. Palm Bay's fine, Noah. Oh yeah, Amy, we got the old SLCs. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. I want to thank Nautilus for the super chat, for the gifted membership, XRP Plumbing for their super chat as well. Appreciate everyone joining the channel. Again, live only channel. I'm only on when there's impactful weather here in Central Florida. So thank you for liking and subscribing. And if you have the notifications on, make sure they're on all the time, because I'm not going to inundate you with forecast videos or daily updates or anything like that. If you get a notification from me, it's because I'm on live and there's a reason to tune into the channel. And again, today we are watching for some significant storms with an earlier development here across Central Florida. New special weather statement is now in effect for portions of Osceola County, including St. Cloud, West Lake Tahoe, and Alligator Lake. Let's hope it just hits the alligators and no one else. That's a good cell, again, just south of St. Cloud, kind of drifting and developing between the Turnpike, which is 91, and the 192-441 corridor from St. Cloud back over towards Harmony. Looks like the Weather Service has a slow southwest drift with this one. Here are the specifics. Strong thunderstorm impacting northwest Osceola County until 3:30. Doppler radar tracking a strong thunderstorm near St. Cloud, stationary, winds of 50 miles an hour and some pea-sized hail. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs, blow around unsecured objects, minor hail damage to vegetation. Again, pea-sized hail, likely not significant to cause any big problems. But strong storm here, blinding rain, Turnpike, never a good situation. Yeah, Richard, it's been quieter along the East Coast. We have flipped things around today because the prevailing winds, especially at the mid-levels, are out of the north and east. It's developing the activity across interior sections and driving it somewhat in a southwest fashion, although it has been fairly slow to exit some areas. So now we are starting to see again that opportunity for some flooding in parts of our region, something that's going to have to be watched out for the remainder of the afternoon hours. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Zigzag. All right, back over to our winter garden camera. Again, we still have our severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County. I'll be monitoring that. This camera will be watching that storm coming out of Lake County and what it produces. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen, that is the leading edge of that severe thunderstorm, right? You can see the lower base clouds to it, almost that shelf cloud trying to move into this camera. So that is a situation that we're going to be watching very closely for you guys here. Guys, I'm going to leave up this camera and I will be back in just 1 second. Stay tuned. We'll have some chat for you here Well, I'll be gone for about a minute or two. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, fresh water, vitamin water in an empty bladder. I'm good to go. Jody, these storms have an opportunity to put a big dent in our drought, but it's going to take some time. No doubt about it. Going to take a little bit of time for these storms to do anything that's going to really help out for the most part. It's a cumulative effect. We're going to need a lot more rain through the remainder of our summer months for that to be the case. Now, while I stepped away briefly, you guys did probably notice that the severe thunderstorm warning was allowed to expire here in Lake County. It's good news. And what I like about that is that these storms are pulsing up and they're strong. They're producing severe winds and potentially hail, but they're not lasting very long. The bad news is the coverage is still extensive and the flooding threat will come along with that. And then we'll have a marginal severe threat the remainder of the afternoon hours. So extremely widespread activity, pockets of strong to severe weather, and then the big impacts overall could be the potential flooding across our region to go along with some strong winds. But again, coverage-wise, significant central and west, few scattered showers off towards the east. Still do have 2 special weather statements in effect, but in this northern area, this is a pretty tight shot to have 1,100 lightning strikes. And now this activity is back into portions of the northern side of Metro Orlando. This is the areas that didn't have as much rain earlier today, but Wekiva Springs, Apopka, Lockhart, Maitland, Altamont Springs, Castleberry, Winter Springs, all with the opportunity for some stronger storms here that will continue to move into those areas and potentially, again, bring additional heavy rain to some spots that have already had some pretty, active weather today, and that's going to be from the downtown Orlando area to the south. So if this line of storms can hold together and it's working its way off towards the south, that's another problem. So we got to watch that over the next hour or two and how that might ultimately impact the potential for flooding in these areas. But it's 3 o'clock. We'll have to see how much more rain wants to move into these areas as we head towards the drive home. I am anticipating that additional heavy rain could lead to some additional flooding areas because we've already had a few inches of rain in a lot of these spots. So it's a problem for Metro Orlando to see some of this activity redeveloping in a heavy fashion. We've got our live cameras for you guys. The top left-hand side of your screen is Lake Buena Vista. It's a little bit quieter there right now. Winter Garden is in the center of your screen. That cell, by the way, is heading right down towards Winter Garden. So I think it will be very interesting to see if it holds together and what it could do. And then Conway is back down to the southeast side here of downtown Orlando. This is an area that is under the flood advisory. Now that flood advisory does go just for the next half hour, but we'll have to wait and see if additional rain could lead to more of an opportunity for either more widespread flood advisories, or whether the Weather Service wants to put additional areas under that flood advisory. I think both of those scenarios are still possible, given the fact that we still have an opportunity here for the next 2+ hours for more widespread heavy storms. And you can clearly see the development north of our area through Marion and Alachua County, even up towards Lake City. Bridget says Palmetto area is clearing. Noble Pills showing you some of the exclusive, they might be the exclusive custom badges and emojis. Again, appreciate everyone being in the chat. Thank you to our members as well. Yeah, bring on that breeze. Bring on the rain too, but we just don't need this storm activity. And now we've got this flood threat that's going to come along for the ride the rest of the day. Again, excessive rainfall outlook, areas in green, under at least a marginal risk for excessive flooding. It's interesting because that doesn't line up with where we've had the flooding today so far, and that's in Orlando, but it does show you that overall we're favoring western zones today for the additional potential for the heavier rain. Earlier today, we were not under a risk of severe storms. It was not until just before I came on the air here on the live stream that the Storm Prediction Center upgraded our area to the marginal risk. That's a 1 out of 5 on the scale from Orlando west. Again, general thunderstorm risk, I-95, but much less organized and more isolated in nature there as well. Let's check local storm reports. Make sure we haven't missed anything that has cropped up here. So if there has been anything significant, it'll show up in a local storm report. Did get word of some power outages earlier in Wesley Chapel, water spouting off the Sarasota County coastline, places like that. But it's been pretty spotty as far as that goes. Now, you guys have a storm report to pass along here, throw it in the chat. Let me know. I appreciate that. Let's check in with our situation here. Again, the flood advisory still continues for Orange County till 3:30. Totals of 3 to 5 inches in some spots. And when you look at the locations on your screen, it's Orlando, downtown, south. So the bigger areas, Conway, Belle Isle, SeaWorld, Universal, so back down towards I-Drive area, and others, Dr. Phillips included in that, Holden Heights, just south of downtown. You get the idea. These are going to be your special weather statements here. And then you have the special weather statement for Osceola County, and that'll show up in this product. Dunedin, barely any rain. So Adrian says lost power, came back on, 466 and 301, just keeps getting worse. It's a nasty storm over the villages in Wildwood right now. It's a good storm. A lot of lightning associated with this activity. Again, one of the areas, and it's not just a minimal special weather statement, by the way. It is one with 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's close to a severe thunderstorm criteria, and that cell up 75 into southern sides of Marion County is pretty stout as well, right? Trying to drift over 200, moving to the west at 9. Not a lot of communities here, just some, not bigger cities, that is, of course. But 200 southwest of Ocala has been built up over the years. Hello, Mr. AA, 12XWC. Again, I love your handles. Says, what's going on in Deltona? Well, a few thunderstorms are developing over the area just to your north right now. Certainly could fill in. You live in Deltona, expect the opportunity for a few storms to roll over your area in the next couple of hours. Again, earlier arrival today likely means a little bit earlier clearing. I think we get rid of most of this activity between 5 and 6 o'clock and left over with a better later half of the afternoon and into the early evening hours. But for the next few hours, friends, we still have fairly intense storms, pretty widespread coverage, I-4 back off towards the west. So I'll monitor the situation in Volusia County. Can't rule out a stronger storm. As these cells merge together in the old outflow boundaries, we can get some squirrely winds from time to time. Just watch out for the heavy rain overall. Watch out for the amount of lightning. I mean, these are going to be noisy storms. And if you do have to travel, just anticipate it being a slower drive. If you have any plans that you need to be somewhere later this afternoon, give yourself some extra time. Things are just going to be slower through most of the Central Florida roadways because of what we've already seen for today and the additional showers that are going to be out there. I mean, we're just going to have a lot of ponding on the roads and maybe even some water over roadways. It could absolutely be a potential, given the situation that has already presented itself through a lot of our area. Keep an eye on our Conway cam. Overcast skies here. Again, good thunderstorm earlier. Likely an area that had at least a little bit of minor flooding earlier, but the rain has abated enough where we're likely to see some of that receding, so it's good news there. But again, this camera likely to get rolled over at least one more time because there's some developing storms just to the north of it. The most action-packed camera I'm going to have for you here over the next hour is going to be our winter garden camera in the western side of Orange County. Again, good thunderstorm beginning to move into that area right now. If you look on the right-hand lower side of your screen, you can see that shelf cloud beginning to work its way into the area. So this camera is going to be one that is likely going to get rolled over by a pretty took my microphone off. Sorry about that. Is likely to get rolled over by a pretty intense cell. What I wanted to do was take off that. So again, clear view. That's a gnarly looking sky there. If you live, in the downtown Winter Garden area, up 429, to the north side of Lake Apopka, even over into the Lake County side, like Astatula. Hefty storm, and that's what we're seeing right now from this Winter Garden camera. So the next round of intense weather is coming in. Jody says, Rusty, we're close to SeaWorld and it's quieting down. I appreciate that, Jody. I will say, at least for now. Again, this is a scenario, guys, where it is certainly not out of the question that you get hit with multiple rounds of storms for the remainder of the day. Potentially, maybe one or two more. Even if you've had some pretty good weather and intense storms move across your area, not out of the question to get it one more time. We're going to keep a really close eye on that Winter Garden camera. Just want to let you guys know, of course, that Lien Law, one of our sponsors, is the Lien Law firm of Central Florida here of CFLW. Your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Check them out by going to lienonmelaw.com if you would like more information. The QR code that is on your screen will get you to their website. And Bobby Lee and the team can help you through that insurance claim process. So you want to support someone who supports the channel, go to them, lienonmelaw.com, if you all would like more information. All right, let's dive back into what's going to be happening from that Winter Garden camera. So the Winter Garden camera here, storm moving in. We're seeing that. You can see the shelf cloud coming in. Heavy rain right now across Apopka, 441 to the 429 interchange here, up towards 46. Mount Dora, taking that spur up towards Mount Dora. Potentially some hail here as well. Small hail, but that opportunity will be there. Astatula, Yahala, again, strong storm here. Not severe any longer, but I wouldn't want to be out and about in it, including the Tavares area. Trying to improve a little bit over places like Fruitland Park, Leesburg, Lady Lake. Still our special weather statement for Wildwood in the Villages. That should expire at 3:15. That storm has come down a little bit. Again, you got to have winds of at least 40 miles an hour to even get a special weather statement. It doesn't mean that the storm is not causing you problems. I want to be clear about that. It just means that maybe it's not producing the winds that would warrant a special weather statement. The amount of rain and the lightning have nothing to do with the criteria for severe thunderstorm warning and special weather statements. It's wind and it's hail, and that is simply it. Strong winds up towards the southern sides of Marion County. That special weather statement will go until 3:30. Additional storms are developing along the Levy and the northern Citrus County coastline as well. It's more light rain for the rest of Citrus, Hernando, Pasco, light to moderate rain for Pinellas, Hillsborough counties. That thunderstorm moving south of Sarasota County, left over with some rain over Manatee County. Still our special weather statement here for Osceola County. Good activity, East Polk County, Auburndale, Winter Haven, Davenport. Then you get towards the Turnpike 192. That's the special weather statement there. That goes until 3:30. 50-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-inch size hail. St. Cloud, kind of the biggest area that could be impacted by that. And Kissimmee St. Cloud has had flooding over the last few days. Not yesterday, but the days before that. You can see the outflow boundary produced out of these storms. So they're likely to try and make a run somewhat east. This is the question. Can they get all the way to the Brevard County coast? We'll see. They're likely still going to try and move more south more than anything, but that outflow boundary is propagating a little bit more east than anything. And then everything just kind of ties together in between those areas that I've already mentioned, up the 417 and the beach line, so Lake Nona, Medical City, Lee Vista Boulevard areas, up towards Avalon Park, Dean Road, Waterford Lakes. Storms are intensifying northern half of the Metro Orlando area. Lockhart, Maitland, Altamont Springs, Winter Springs, Wekiva Springs, connected over to the storms in Lake County. So just a lot of activity, guys. A tornado warning on this would be in purple. So on this map, special weather statements are in yellow, severe thunderstorm warnings are in red, and then we would have like a pulsating purple to a light pink for a tornado warning. And again, we would see it all in real time. I promise you this, you're watching this channel, you're going to see that pop up on my screen before it shows up on the National Weather Service website pages, before it shows up on any app that you would ever use. It is the fastest data retrieval that I've seen, and I've been in the business a long time. When I first started doing this channel, severe thunderstorm warnings would pop up on the screen, and all of the other various data information sources that I have readily available to me, it shocked me, and I always would tell the viewers initially, hang on a second, I need to make sure that that's right. I don't know, because I was new to the system as well. Do I trust it? And it's just that fast. So you will get, I promise you, watching this channel, you will get the watches, the warnings updated faster than any other place. No, Brandon will not get a tornado. Any chance for hail in Pinellas? I'm not too concerned about any hail potential in Pinellas, James, for the most part. And if we were to get some hail in Pinellas County, it would likely be the extremely small size. But you have already had some decent storms, and you have the overcast skies, and you have temperatures there in Pinellas, which are mainly in the 70s and 80s. So even if another thunderstorm were to come through your area, you're likely to not get the worst part of it. It should die a bit because your air is more stabilized now with temperatures only in the 70s and 80s. So if you're waiting on the potential for a hail producing damaging hail, a storm producing damaging hail to decide whether to go out, I think you're just fine. Hey, should we worry at Ocala? Well, first of all, don't worry, right? But I would say that there's an opportunity for some storms to try and develop north in your area to produce some at least gusty winds. There is still some juice in the atmosphere in Ocala. Now, you were at 95 earlier, so you are down to 88 with some of the storms in the vicinity. But right now, it's only the south side of Ocala with a special weather statement. This is a new one, by the way. So special weather statement, a little bit closer to Ocala, but still doesn't include Ocala. It does go for the next 13 minutes, and it does sneak a little bit farther west. The special weather statement for Wildwood and the Villages, as expected, has been allowed to retire. That storm is not as potent as what it was, but it's an extremely widespread, moderate to heavy rain. Next big event coming up, if you will be the flood advisory that is supposed to expire at 3:30 for Orange County. We'll see what the National Weather Service office wants to do with that particular advisory. Let's get back over to our cameras because I got something to show you. So first of all, I'll triple box it. Lake Buena Vista, Winter Garden in the middle, and then Conway on the bottom of your screen. But as I've mentioned, if we're going to have some good visuals, it's going to be out of this cell. That is the potent storm coming out of Lake County. And if you live in western Orange County, look at the turbulence with that. That is a gnarly storm, guys. Again, it's not even a special weather statement storm. But lightning and rain do not factor into the Weather Service offering those up. Now look, they coordinate, they go hand in hand. If you're going to get significant lightning, you're also probably going to produce some really strong winds. But that is a picture right there. And again, that's why we have these live cameras in Central Florida. We have additional cameras that are coming your way. We're really excited about that. So we look forward to bringing back some of the cameras that we're working on right now and just have more coverage for you guys. If you're interested in sponsoring a camera, reach out to me, mymediamundo@gmail.com. You can scan the QR code when we go back out to the big view. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, like the Lean Law Firm is, not just a sponsor of the camera, but as an actual channel sponsor, let's talk. Appreciate all that support. But again, this is why we do this. So in real time, morning, day, night, we can come on live and cover these storms for you guys. And that's just a gnarly storm. As a meteorologist, as a weather nerd, it's a pretty interesting storm. I agree with the true Warrior of Jesus. I think Winter Garden is going to get hit pretty good. And again, this camera is from the south side of Winter Garden. So those folks who live closer to like Lake Apopka on the south side, Plant Street North, they're probably already seeing it. But here it comes. Yes, we are, Amy. We are always ahead. And again, nice little rumble of thunder outside. Prater says, tornado vortex signature on the storm south of Kissimmee. First of all, $5 super thanks. Let's get the hearts out in chat for that. I appreciate that. I'm using what's called the skit system to see that. I'm not picking up a TVS. I'm happy to interrogate this storm. If there is any rotation, I'll look at it from a couple of different radars. Let's see here. Can even bring up the terminal Doppler out of Orlando. That's going to be our closest one. And you guys can see the shelf cloud, the saucer coming into Winter Garden right now. But I'm going to take a look at the storm. I don't exactly know where you saw that. I just looked from the Melbourne radar. This is the terminal out of Orlando Airport. This is the closest thing. I do not see any large rotation here, my friend. I do appreciate you pointing it out. But if we were going to get any low rotation picked up, it's going to be this terminal Doppler. This thing is quite close. Let me check the wind speeds. Whew, look at that storm. Strong winds down here for sure. Right down the turnpike. All going away from the radar, all straight line. A little bit more congested up here, but the winds incoming are quite weak. I don't see much here as well. Again, weak incoming. So this is all, when you see these reds here, guys, from this radar, the winds are all going away from the radar site. So they're all pushing this way, right? And they're all one color. Brighter pinks are going to be stronger winds compared to the darker maroons. But I don't see much rotation here, my friend. I'll keep an eye on it, but thank you for pointing it out. Let's go back over to the Melbourne radar. Look at that storm. I want to bring that storm up full screen here in just 1 second too. In fact, I'll do that real quick. There is no severe thunderstorm warning associated with that. Okay. So reflectivity should return here. There we go. And then let's bring up our storm in Winter Garden. So here it comes. Prairie says, Indico, we now see the storm coming in Winter Garden. Yep. Look, small rotations like that are absolutely possible. Rotation over a lake, like a large lake like Lake Apopka, absolutely possible. It's likely to be very broad, but you can see that base coming in right now. Again, you want to talk about some SLCs. You want to talk about some scary looking clouds. You got it. I promise you I'm monitoring the tornado threat. It is very low today, though. These storms don't have a lot of inherent rotation. Brief spin-ups or brief areas of circulation, absolutely possible. But you got to stretch it a little bit more, if you will, to try and get to a scenario where there's an opportunity where you would really have the potential for an actual tornado. Now, a brief water spout, even over an area like Lake Apopka, not out of the question. But again, the leading edge of this cell is moving south and building slightly east right into this camera. And you can see how fast it's moving. Yeah. Pretty good forward speed. Every so often we might lose connection briefly with that camera, but it's up 95% of the time. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for taking a quick second, saying hi. Let me know what's happening in your area. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. If you haven't, as of yet, thanks for hitting that subscribe button. It really helps to support the channel and our audience. Please do me that favor. If you want to become a member, memberships are also available as well. We are a live only channel, meaning that I am only on when there's impactful weather in Central Florida for anyone asking. So when storms move in, a lot of the times you'll get a notification from the channel that I'm on covering those storms for you guys live, especially this time of the year, guys, right? Obviously, we're in our wet season. We have our sea breeze storms that are quite active this time of the year, and those are on a daily basis. Now, it's been very active in the severe weather arena with these storms over the last week or so, but anytime there are storms that could bear an impact, I'll be on covering them for you guys. So again, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you sharing this channel with your family and friends as well. If you know anyone who's going to get anything out of it, thanks for helping the channel grow in that way. Appreciate all of our moderators in the chat. You'll see them in blue. All of our members are in green. And again, you get access to custom badges and emojis. You get access to exclusive member short videos in between these live streams as well. You are looking at Winter Garden on the western side of Orlando, western side of Orange County. Nice, pretty, picturesque, but pretty potent storm that is working its way into the camera shot. I'll be monitoring that closely. We'll get back to it. I feel like our Lake Buena Vista camera, we must have people who get deliveries every day. I feel like Amazon UPS always shows up sometime during our live streams. I guess it is true for most neighborhoods these days, but I think some folks on that street are doing a lot of ordering. So we continue with our special weather statement in Marion County. We do have a new special weather statement right along US 19 that includes Crystal River in Citrus County, Black Diamond, gorgeous area, beautiful golf course, Inglis, Pine Ridge, Citronelle, Crystal Manor, and Lecanto included with this. 50-mile-an-hour winds, some quarter-inch size hail there right along the immediate coast. Here is the actual bulletin from the Tampa Bay Ruskin forecast office. Strong thunderstorm impacting northwest Citrus and southwest Levy counties through 4 o'clock. Got a good thunderstorm 13 miles north of Crystal River or 13 miles southwest of Rainbow Lakes. Basically stationary. Again, 50-mile-an-hour winds and some pea-sized hail. Likely to eventually develop to the south. So basically going to be following 19 down into the northern sides of Citrus County and trying to get on over towards my hometown of Crystal River. Thunderstorms will continue southern Marion County into Lake. Again, what we're seeing right now from the Winter Garden camera is this cell right over Lake Apopka, over Montverde, Oakland, Ocoee, 429. Can't even see the lake on the radar. It is absolutely covered up. Someone was talking about, potential rotation out of any of this. Excuse me. A little bit on the east side, but it's exactly what I would expect, right? Sorry about that. Zoomed in a little bit too quick. Get back out. Get back out. Okay, that's way too far. Right here on the eastern shoreline, kind of broad. Now, the interesting thing about it is that's the part of the cell that's going to, if it holds together, go right through this camera. Now, it's likely the friction difference of the smooth waters compared to the shoreline areas here. Not concerned about that. But if you do live along the east side of Lake Apopka, or you live in an area where you can see that, 429 west, you are probably seeing some broad spin right now coming through. Hey Breezy, how you doing? It does look like a little bit better day along our east coast. Yes, I can't rule out a couple of thunderstorms for our eastern counties and our friends there, but generally speaking, the farther west that you go, a little bit more activity for today. That includes all of I-4, right? Includes all of I-75. Couple of spotty showers here. Some of this activity is trying to hold together and move east towards I-95. If you notice, they've reissued another special weather statement a little bit more east. So it does give you an indication that the propagation of these storms is a little bit more east right now, trying to tug to I-95, southern Volusia, Brevard, Harmony, Holopaw in this new special weather statement. 50-mile-an-hour winds and some quarter-inch size hail. Alligator Lake again. And our friends in Pine Grove, small hail, 50-mile-an-hour winds. Breaking the action where we had the flood advisory. Again, that is expiring right now. But it's good, at least in the short term, that there is not significant rain from downtown Orlando south. These are the areas that have been under that flood advisory for up to 3 to 5 inches of rain in some of these locations. Again, you can see this cell from our camera in Winter Garden in the center of your screen. It'll be rolling right over this camera, so we're going to get a really good view of what that's going to produce. Little bit of a break in the action, western Lake County. Still some decent rain, northern Sumter. It is kind of this part of it moving off towards the west. I think it's high time, and they issued another special weather statement up here too. This is not going to include a lot of areas, Rainbow Lake Estates and Denellen for 40-mile-an-hour winds. If I go out to the broad perspective here, guys, first of all, from this view, 3,000 lightning strikes. Now, it does include the I-10 corridor, but you get the idea. If I show you what things have looked like here in the past couple of hours, just to give you a big kind of broad brushed what's been happening loop over the last 2 hours. So much activity, so much redevelopment, a general push south and west for the most part. But with this northeast mid-level flow, and you can clearly see the radar pointing you in the direction of things, northeast to southwest for today. So it pushes that activity back towards the west coast for the most part. But we are being enhanced by all of the situation happening to our north and to our east. We have that area, which is no longer a threat for actual tropical development, but this broad spin is throwing more juice in the atmosphere here. It even looks like what you have here is a decaying front, and it looks like you have a couple of areas of mid-level weak spin. This is the most prominent one, but it does look like there's a secondary one at the mid-levels a little bit closer to our coastline, and that's just throwing, again, more instability in the atmosphere for today to enhance these storms. They came in earlier. They were quite strong and are still strong, and they're still likely to be that way for the rest of the afternoon hours. They should get out of Dodge a little bit earlier today. I don't think we're going to have a lot of sunset storms around, let's hope. Get you maybe an hour or two at the end of the day with a rain-cooled, nice late afternoon, early evening in some areas. Coastline, for the most part, will have the best weather the remainder of the day. But we've still got a couple more hours here where these storms are still going to cause some problems, produce the opportunity for some rough weather. Want to take our winter garden camera back full live again. You can see the rain shaft coming in, rumbles of thunder and lightning. We're likely to get some good lightning strikes out of this too. So I think being live, this is just a neat shot to stay with for you guys for a little bit. I'll go back and forth from time to time, but there you go. Again, nice shot here from Winter Garden of that cell moving into camera view. Again, it's not severe, not even a special weather statement. Low-hanging, dark-based clouds. Those old SLCs are back here. If you do live in this area, let this storm roll by, right? Don't try and fight it. Don't try and get out into traffic. Don't try and drive. Give it a little bit of extra time if you can. If you're planning to travel across a lot of Central Florida for today, the areas that I've mentioned that have already had storms, there's going to be some wet roads. There's going to be some ponding on roadways. Please give yourself some extra time. Take it a little bit slower too. Nautilus jumps in and says in Northern Lake County, decent ponding there on 441. So there you go. Roman says it probably did miss Anna Maria Island. Okay, Ken says flooding a little bit over here in Marion County. Ken, where are you in Marion County? Deidre says I'm in Orange City, heavy winds, rain, and a lot of lightning. So Ken says it is flooding a little bit over here in Marion County. Again, we have our live chat for you guys. Appreciate all of those in the chat jumping in. Cole says 1.37 inches of rain in Yahala in Lake County so far. Deidre says in Orange City, heavy winds, heavy rain, and lots of lightning. Thank you, Deidre, for that report. Appreciate you guys doing that. Again, we have our live chat. So from time to time, your messages will appear on our screen. Members always get priority. People with questions and super chats will get priority. But, we want to build a great community here, and we want everyone to be involved. So I do appreciate you guys passing along those reports. You got a question, feel free to drop in the chat below. Again, doing a lot of different things. If I don't answer your question right away, A, I apologize, but B, our moderators will likely take over and help you out. I did a really stupid thing, by the way. I put beard balm in, which I don't normally do a lot of. And then I was sitting here off camera and I was rubbing my beard. And I just realized that now I have greasy hands. That's a lot of fun. Noah, I suppose just questioning life. Again, you're looking at a live shot out of Winter Garden, western side of Orange County. Lady Q coming in saying St. Cloud, Neptune 192, moderate rain, light thunder, and the lightning, but the wind is low. And that's a scenario with a lot of this, guys. You'll get the gust front. Your strongest winds could easily be before the heaviest rain and lightning move in. That gust front will switch your wind direction for the most part. It'll also bring in a cooling breeze, and then we'll start to see some thunderstorms coming in behind that with the heavier rain and the lightning, but not as much rain. Not as much wind. Liam says they got some light rain in Brandon. Brandon, Seffner, Valrico areas. Appreciate that. All right, so you're going to start to see some lightning coming from this camera here in Winter Garden. That storm's about ready to move through that area. Laura says second round for Deltona. Yes, indeed. All right. Just wanted you guys to get a good view of that camera for a few minutes, but we'll get back out to our triple box, and I'll jump back on your screen and say hi. Hope everyone's having a good mid-Tuesday afternoon now. How long have we been on? We've been on for what? Can't even see it here. 2 hours plus. Good to see everyone. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. Again, covering live storms here in Central Florida, live impactful weather. You'll see the primary threats highlighted below in the headline. You'll also see some more details scrolling at the bottom of your screen. You'll see one of our sponsors of the channel, the Lean Law Firm there as well, leanomnilaw.com. Live cameras across our network, including Lake Buena Vista. Top side of your screen. Center is going to be Winter Garden, Western Orange County, Conway Cam, southeast side of downtown Orlando. So right now we're into a lot of congested activity. On the northwest and southeast sides, we're bracketed by some special weather statements. So these are storms that are producing winds of 40 up to 50 miles an hour. They're just below severe thunderstorm criteria. They're below that threshold, either wind or hail size. Again, you got to have 60-mile-an-hour winds and or inch-size hail for a severe thunderstorm warning in your area. The area that had the most prominent activity earlier today was actually our southwest areas. Places like Pasco and Pinellas and Hernando counties had multiple rounds of storms, including Hillsborough County too, that came through significant rain and wind in those spots. Activity continues to redevelop north and east, and we're in store for it's going to be just a very active remainder of the afternoon hours. Now, we'll teeter on the opportunity for severe storms, but as I've mentioned, you begin to progress and evolve in a scenario like what we have today, where if we're going to see hours and hours of potential rain and storms in our area, yes, you'll continue to have the opportunity for some severe weather conditions, but the flood threat becomes more prominent and more widespread because the rain has just stuck around for a longer duration of time. And we've already had one flood advisory for a fair amount of Orange County. I'm going to go back over to this map to just see what is out there right now. It does look like we'll hold on for a second and let it reemerge. So now we have the flood advisories for Lake County. So this is this is a little bit older. Didn't pick up on it earlier, but this is a flood advisory that goes until 4:30. So 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain with an additional inch. It's not as much as what was expected for Orange County, but it's enough. So additional rain will result in some minor flooding, including Leesburg, Fruitland Park, Hawthorne, the Oklahoma areas, and Yahala. So there you go, Cole. Cole has already mentioned the amount of rain he got there. Well, now under a flood advisory. Everywhere else, these are special weather statements. There's a flood advisory up for the Gainesville area in Alachua County. So for our friends in Lake County, flood advisory there until 4:30. You can see that thunderstorm has now run over the camera there in Winter Garden. And again, you'll probably see some strokes of lightning there. It's good that they did not extend the flood advisory that was in effect from downtown south and west. Some of the heaviest activity has actually now developed north into interior sides of Volusia County. So we got a report of the rain and storms returning to places like Deltona. It is doing so for DeLand, Orange City, Lake Helen, east towards Osteen on the 415, across Lake Monroe, on over towards the St. John's and the Sanford area there, Lake Mary, a little bit of a gap. That should likely fill in. Heavy storms across 46, then down the 417, Lake Jessup towards Oviedo and Chuliota. Scattered storms are trying to progress farther east. So this was the question that I had today was, can these storms hold together and get over towards I-95? It's close. They're marching along 50 in the beach line right now. It's a pretty rowdy storm trying to get back down towards I-95 in Indian River City. And additional storms are still holding together. So I will say, especially for my friends in Brevard County, a little bit farther south, it's not out of the question that some of this activity inland is going to make a run towards your area. I'll be watching that for you guys. It has still continued to be moderate to light rain central southwest areas, but now we are more stabilized. Likely this activity that's trying to get into your area from the north will lose some of its punch as it does so. Still a tremendous amount of lightning, guys. In this view, the last 15 minutes, nearly 1,900 lightning strikes. Flood advisory now for Hillsborough County, is there? Do not see one. I'm going to double check a few things. There's not a flood advisory for Hillsborough County. Ken says had a power outage for a second earlier there around 2:50. So up in Marion County, I believe Ken said he was. So, that's another situation, right? Lightning and power sometimes don't mix. Some of these stronger storms with the intense lightning could absolutely produce some extremely, strong winds, ton of lightning, could lead to some power outages from time to time. Hopefully brief, hopefully kind of the on and off scenario, but there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere for today. And it is interesting right now that basically this activity is bracketed by the strongest activity north and west and south and east. But the storms over Orange and Seminole and interior Volusia counties, they're no joke either. Again, you're looking at the live look from Winter Garden. That cell might have lost a little bit of its punch as it's moving in, but not much. Yeah, appreciate you guys taking a quick second hitting that like button for me. Open Mind wants to know any sauce for Flagler County. You're likely to be okay. I can't rule out a shower or two developing in Flagler County and moving in, but that far north and east, if I were to pick a quadrant that's the quietest of our area, that's it. Likely, again, the east breeze is a little bit inland right now, and that northeast wind is really developing that storm activity south and west of you. So I'll monitor for Palm Coast, but it's a much lower chance. Generally speaking, along the coast, the farther north that you live, that's the East Coast, by the way, the lower rain chances and storm chances you're going to get. The storms here over interior Volusia County have gone up like that. 500 lightning strikes now. DeLand, Orange City, Deltona, Oviedo, Chuliota. This is just a juiced atmosphere, guys. It is not taking much for these storms just to get going. Now, again, what's mainly going to happen? A heck of a lot of rain, a ton of lightning, some gusty winds. As long as they can move out of your area quick enough, should be okay. I'm not too concerned about hail size for today, but man, they're rowdy, right? Traveling, not fantastic. We hit the 4 o'clock hour and we're coming up on it right now. Now we start getting into the drive home. There's a lot that's out there right now and a lot that's already fallen, and problems on the roadways are likely to persist for the coming hours. Back over to our winter garden camera. Again, this cell looks like it fell apart just a little bit as it was moving in, but man, what a cool shot earlier from that camera. Again, moderate rain, western sides of Orange County. Not a severe storm here at all, but yet again, it's just another spot that has had multiple rounds of storms for today, but that's basically most of us. I mean, I'd be shocked if you live I-4 West and you only had one shower today. I'm sure there are some areas before it's all said and done that will stay that way, but a lot more areas than not that won't. No, I'll be monitoring Brevard County. Storms are getting a little bit closer, and those are some of the stronger storms right now. I'll be monitoring it for you. Rusty says the rain still stopped here in Pasco County. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you again for the super chats and the super thanks. Nautilus, XRP Plumbing, Prater. Going to be a wet drive home, stormy drive home. These storms, by the way, are beginning to cluster up a little bit more potently right now. Northern sides of Citrus, southwest sides of Marion County. So you've got 200 coming up to the southwest side of Ocala. Then you've got 41 here as well. 19 right along the coast, including Crystal River. So 41 will take you from Denellen to Hernando. Again, bracketed by special weather statements. This storm a little bit weaker, but this storm right now drifting into northwest Citrus County does have some 50-mile-an-hour winds and some potentially quarter-inch size hail. A lot of lightning, if nothing else. So that's a rowdy storm, 19 south, and then 44 from west to east, getting back into Lecanto and Inverness. Places like Pine Ridge and Black Diamond would be included in that as well if you know that area. But yeah, it's all really spotty and light south of there. Hernando County, Pasco County, Pinellas, Hillsborough. Still some light rain. It's that veil of overcast with a couple of showers out there. But again, the atmosphere is certainly more stable than what it was. So the reason why storms are propagating east and holding together is that this area has not had any storm activity yet, right? This is an area that is still quite warm. If I bring on temperatures for you guys, part of the opportunity for intense storms is the juice in the atmosphere. So if you look at your temperatures, you're back into the rain-cooled 70s in Orlando, but in Brevard County, where we have not had rain and storms today, it's still in the lower 90s, right? So this activity is encountering atmosphere and air that has not been raked. It has not been run over by storms already. And south of there, inflow coming in is feeding into this and allowing this activity to continue to thrive. The storms are not as strong on the east and northeast side, but they still have pulsed up a bit in inland Volusia County. One reason why is that there's not good uncongested flow out of the south. This is all kind of merging together with the more moderate rain in central Orange County. So this activity will take off for a brief time, but it's likely to pulse up and come back down. Not expecting this to hold together and be one of the stronger storms. If there's an opportunity for some cells to be a little bit stronger here, it's on the southern flank of this. So towards Oviedo and Chuliota, nice little cell has developed in between, at least for a time. Again, likely this is going to pulse up and come back down, but the Wedgefield area, again, same scenario, trying to make a run to I-95 here in the northern sides of Brevard County. Hey Samuel, I would expect you guys to see a few scattered showers and storms there trying to get off the coast. He's in our friends in Bahamas. Certainly not the activity that we're having here, but you guys have also been excruciatingly hot, so I hope you catch some of those showers and storms there in the Northwest Bahamas, and I hope you're doing well. You're welcome, Open Mind. Hey Cujo, how you doing? Hope things are well with you. Yeah, a lot of you are reporting at least some brief power outages earlier today. Seemed to be a pretty widespread scenario. Nothing too, catastrophic or out for very long. If you did suffer a power outage for more than just a few minutes, let me know in the comment section below. Let our friends in the chat know as well. Again, great community. We all want to keep each other safe and keep each other apprised of the situation. So appreciate that. Only report I have here is some 1/4 inch hail, basically 3/10 of an inch down near Port Charlotte, all the way down here, southern Sarasota County, just before you get across the border. That was at 3:05, so about 45 minutes or so ago. Nothing reported for the rest of our area. Again, a flood advisory does continue for Lake County. We are technically under a risk of severe weather for today. That is the darker green that you see. You notice it does not include the East Coast, but these are just lines on maps, right? Storm Prediction Center meteorologists, they're really, really good, but these are still just lines on maps. So could there still be some stronger storms east? It's a possibility. Still expected to be much more isolated in nature. Best chance it looks like as these storms are developing right now are going to be Brevard County south. I doubt these storms can make a run back to Daytona Beach, Flagler County. We'll see, but we still have a northeast flow, and that is likely to still push these storms in general more south and southwest than anything. But some of this activity can line up, follow the west coast sea breeze inland a little bit farther south, and actually make a run back east. It's going to be real close. You can clearly see the outflow boundary from the Melbourne radar on these storms. These storms continue to develop and get stronger from the Harmony, Holopal area back towards Yeehaw Junction. 441, 192 would not be a fun drive right now. That one goes until the top of the hour. Harmony, Holopal, Alligator Lake, and Pine Grove. 50-mile-an-hour winds, 1/4 inch size hail. Bad storms in Rainbow Springs, I would imagine, yeah. These cells are merging together up here. So you are going to get some bad storms, Crystal River, Lecanto, Hernando, Denellen, including the Rainbow Springs area there. Not much in the way to track here, guys. Some of this activity is south, you know, kind of from the southern flank of this. Moving south at about 10 or so. I mean, that's probably about it. The Homosassa Springs area here, just at the top of the hour, and eventually Floral City, which is south from Inverness on 41 at about 4:32. But, you know, a lot of our populated areas here with this storm track already covered up. Again, you know, will this cell hold together, or is it just going to rain itself out in these spots? We'll have to wait and see. If anything, a little bit of movement to the south over the next 30 minutes or so. I don't know why you guys keep asking, will a certain place see a tornado? I think you guys understand that that's not kind of the scenario here, right? We can talk about potentials. We can talk about areas that might have a little bit better chance, but to sit here and pinpoint and say, yes, this area is going to see a tornado, this area is not, obviously that's not what we do. And I've stated it many, many times today already. The tornado threat is quite low today, if not even zero. These are mainly straight line winds. Heavy rain, flooding threat. I don't typically use KJAX because it's too far away from most of where we cover. If there's a northern storm, like up in Flagler or St. John's, I will use it. But I don't want to do a lot of jumping around in the radars unless I have to. But you can clearly see this cell here across Lake Jessup now, Oviedo, Chuliota. 300 lightning strikes, building. Sanford's getting pounded right now. Lake Mary. I-4 across the St. John's, no bueno. Deltona getting hammered. That is a tight shot to have about 300 lightning strikes in 15 minutes. That's a real tight shot. There's not a lot of, again, square miles in this view to have 300 lightning strikes in 15 minutes. Nasty cell. A lot of lightning on the southern flank of that too. So back into Oviedo and Chuliota. Not as much, but still 170 lightning strikes in a pretty small geographic area. So the special weather statements for southwest Marion and Osceola counties will expire at the top of the hour. We'll see what the National Weather Service offices out of those areas want to do. Again, there are 3 National Weather Service offices that cover Central Florida: the Jacksonville office, the Melbourne office, and the Tampa Bay Ruskin office. Those are the areas that will cover. So, they do work in coordination with each other, but that's why you might see some various things issued from time to time and for various time frames, because 3 Weather Service offices do cover Central Florida. I would anticipate that this special weather statement will continue, or potentially even expanded off to the south. So both of those expire at the top of the hour as well. We're likely to get another one for portions of Citrus County, especially near the Lecanto area. I'm pinging the opportunity here for a little bit of hail out of that. And again, that's one special weather statement did have some 1/4 inch size hail. Hey Anthony, how you doing? Live above Denellen and Rainbow Lake Estates. Good rain, thunder. The system's going to the south for the most part. It's moving a little bit west in your area, but also moving off towards the south. Appreciate you letting me know. All right, so a pretty common sight in the Orlando area right now, where the rain has abated a little bit. It's still moderate. It's still coming down a little bit, more than what you can see from this camera, because the lens is obviously covered with some raindrops. Still some lightning strikes from time to time. Now, this is likely to not be enough rain in a short enough a period of time where it's going to lead to additional flooding. So hopefully we just stay on the moderate side in most of these areas, get the drive home out of the way without any additional flooding threat. Again, I do want to reiterate, there's been rain almost everywhere today. There's ponding on roadways. There is some flooding of low-lying areas. Maybe you walk out, you look to the side of your home or a low-lying area in your neighborhood, and you see some water that has been collected. That is absolutely, a widespread situation. There is still a flood advisory for Lake County, especially the northern sides of Lake County, including Leesburg, that goes until 4:30. So there they've had up to 3 inches of rain in a couple of spots. So again, it's kind of the transition that we talked about at the beginning of this, where yes, you're still going to have a bit of a severe weather threat through the late afternoon hours, but now that we've been inundated with rain for 3-4+ hours in some spots, now you have to concern yourselves with additional potential flooding as we move through the rest of the afternoon hours. You're welcome, Anthony. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for subscribing. If you are curious as to what we do here, it's a live only channel. Only on when there's impactful weather in Central Florida. That could be our daily sea breeze storms this time of the year with a severe threat. That can be tropical systems. Yes, if there's a tropical storm, hurricane coming in, I'll be covering that live. Even during the winter months, we covered the freeze that we had earlier this year for a couple of nights, getting everyone prepared for what kind of temperatures they should expect in your area. So any kind of impactful weather, I'll cover for you guys live. Have those notifications on, being a live only channel, not going to have forecast updates, not even going to be on a daily basis. It's just really is dependent on when we have impactful weather. I've been on a lot lately, but that's because we've had impactful weather almost on a daily basis here. What I'm looking at right now is the rainfall rates currently ongoing. So I want to point out the fact that we still have pockets of extremely heavy rainfall falling right now at 4 o'clock. Some of these areas are likely to see rainfall rates in excess of 4 inches an hour. So as an example, for our friends in Sanford, right over downtown, about 4-inch per hour rainfall rates. No, you're likely not to get 4 inches of rain in an hour because the storm is moving, but it's not moving quickly, right? These cells that are slowly developing along 46 west towards Mount Plymouth are producing extreme rainfall rates, and they're not moving fast. So additional areas of flood are likely in some of these areas, like Sanford and Oviedo, maybe east of Oviedo, Chuliota, just east of Bithlo. Anywhere you guys see blacks and blues, that's likely over 3 inches of rain per hour rainfall rates. Same situation here. Look up towards Levy County. You got some 5+ inch rainfall rates here in Levy County as these cells are merging. Denellen's getting hit pretty hard, about 3.5-inch rainfall rates there. Crystal River towards Lecanto along 44. That'll update in just a second. Hernando down 19 to Homosassa Springs. Sugar Mill Woods, if you know that area, about 3 inches of rain plus in some of these spots per hour. Again, this is not like totals. This is just how much rain is falling right now with these storms. It's a great indication though, and I use this as an analysis tool to try and find the spots of the potential next flood problems. We diagnosed that earlier when we saw the heavier rain in southern Orange County, and not long after that, they issued the flood advisory. Same thing for Lake County. These are all spots, if these storms don't move quickly, that could all fall under additional potential flood areas. We can also look at the amount of rain that has fallen today, radar estimated. That'll pop up in just a second. Obviously, what's the first thing that you guys notice about this map? I mean, darn near everyone west of I-95 has had some kind of rain for today, even if it's just been some light rain. That is probably the low bell curve. The center of the bell curve is probably 1+ inch of rain, and then you've got your 3 to 5 inches on the other side of the bell curve. But massive totals overall for areas that could really use this rain. I mean, we are still drought stricken across all of Central Florida, especially the West Coast. We've gotten too much rain in too short of an amount of time in some areas. That's the problem with this. But overall, there's going to be some benefit as well. And it's great to see portions of Citrus and Hernando and Pasco counties and Hillsborough, some of Pinellas over an inch, some of Manatee County over an inch. And again, that pocket of heavy rain in Sarasota County, down 27 in Polk County. Again, 1 to 2+ inches there. I can, pop on some of these. It's not like I just have to sit here, but I'll do this for you guys real quick. So you get an idea of just, and again, this is all radar estimated. Maybe you have more or less in your area. Maybe you have a rain gauge. If you do have a rain gauge, drop it in the comments how much rain that you've gotten so far today, that you've received. Let me know. But that's just a smattering here. But what I take away from this is just how widespread our significant rain was for today. We'll take it for the most part outside of the areas of flood. Romans is like, Bradenton, 0 rain. Chessie, did you get any rain today? God, I hope you did. This is an enhanced sea breeze today from our frontal boundary in the Western Atlantic off of our East Coast. It's helping to aid in the development this afternoon. And it came in much earlier because of that too. Didn't just have to wait for the sea breeze collision and interaction. It got going earlier because of the mechanics in the atmosphere. That northeast wind was quite potent. Okay. So again, at the hour right now, as of 4 o'clock, the special weather statements were allowed to expire. I believe this is the first time since I've been on that we have no special weather statements or severe thunderstorm warnings currently in effect. That's good. The problem is that the rain and storms are still quite widespread, right? Deltona, Sanford, Oviedo, UCF, Wedgefield areas, eastern side of Osceola County. Obviously, we got to watch these storms beginning to progress towards Brevard County. You can see the outflow boundary. There's the Melbourne radar. The outflow boundary is deeper into Brevard County. Again, nice little wind shift there is coming. Throw in those wind gusts here. Be tracking that. The pocket of storms continues up in Citrus County. It's a good cell there. Lecanto, Crystal River, Airport in Crystal River, 26-mile-an-hour wind. Denellen, Hernando, up and down 41. 200, okay towards Ocala. Those storms are really lining up across 19 back into Levy County, just west of Williston towards the Chiefland area. We did have a flood advisory again for Alachua County. I do want to go back and check that flood advisory one more time. So that does continue. The flood advisory does continue for Lake County until 4:30. Jesse says my rain gauge got 0.75 inches. 2 inches for the month of June. Whew. That's not the totals you want to see when you're in a drought and it's the summertime in Florida. You want to be much more above that. So Jesse, one of the members of the channel, again, his chat gets priority on the screen, says, Rusty, my rain gauge 3/4 of an inch of rain, which brings my total to a little over 2 inches for the month of June. I'm glad you got a little bit more today. Obviously, West Coast has been really, really under what they need. We need so much more rain overall to really knock into that drought. This is going to help. The potential El Nino pattern is going to help driving the jet stream over our area more. But we've got a long way to go before that really changes much. But thanks for the information. Noah says Palm Bay, clouds are getting bad. Yeah, if you live in Palm Bay, it's going to be the same situation in a lot of Brevard County that what we saw from our winter garden camera earlier. And that was that storm beginning to roll into the area with that kind of, UFO saucer look to the horizon as it comes in, low base, dark, potentially a little bit of broad spin, but again, not really too concerned right now about any of that opportunity. This is more straight line winds. This is the heavy rainfall and the tremendous amount of lightning that's likely to come along for the ride with a lot of these storms. And again, with that outflow boundary that is delineated here on your map in green, that's that first push of cooler air that you get out ahead of the actual main line. And remember, the Melbourne radar is right at the Weather Service office. They're seeing these storms very close to them right now. So if they feel like it's necessary to issue a special weather statement, they will. These storms are trying to reach I-95 a little bit quicker up in northern Brevard County, Rockledge North, Port St. John, Indian River City, Titusville, Mims. Chuliota with a good storm here. Again, I want to be clear, nothing severe at this point in time. That's good news, right? But still enough significant rain where even if we're not going to have additional severe weather, and I think there's still some pockets of potential, by the way, flood threat is still going to be a problem. Still a copious amount of rain to go along with things. Let's go check a couple of other products here real quick. Make sure there's nothing that I've missed. I always like to, if we're going to be on for a while, I just like to go back every so often and go through some of my criteria, severe weather criteria, just to double check things. Still have the excessive rainfall risk here. Still have our risk of severe storms out west. And for anyone curious, the visible satellite imagery, you can clearly see that even outside of some of the heaviest rain, skies are quite overcast across Central Florida. Many areas right now are quite on the rain-cooled side. You can see that. Look at all the 70s now. The areas that have had the storms, and then the areas that haven't had the storms, where there's still some juice to play with, these storms are trying to march into those zones. It's tough to track out. I mean, there's definitely a bit of an east push to all of this. Let's see what we got here. if this were moving at about 20 miles an hour, and there are some ifs here. I would say this is marginal, or this is dependent, if you will, on if these cells want to actually keep propagating east. They're farther east than I expected so far, but this is the clear air, if you will. So these storms have just been able to hold together longer because of that. But let's just put a scenario in where these storms coming out of Osceola County hold together and they get towards the populated areas of southern Brevard. These are the times of arrival. This includes northern sides of Indian River County as well. Fellsmere 442, same thing for June Park. West Melbourne 447, Palm Bay 453, Melbourne Malabar 454, top of the hour in Mico at 501, Melbourne Beach in Atlantic 502, and the Sebastian area at 505. Again, with the southern flank of that activity. Northern flank, still trying to make a run for the north areas. It's closer. Again, north at about 20. I think it's about, or excuse me, east at around 20. So these areas of Brevard County, again, if these cells coming out of eastern sides of Seminole and eastern Orange County can hold together, sneaking into far southern Volusia and the most of the northern sides of Brevard County. Port St. John, 430. Indian River City, 433. Mims, 434. Sharps, 435. Titusville, 437. Cocoa, 439. And eventually towards the Cape at 502. So places like the Kennedy Center Visitor Complex, need to keep an eye on these storms here as well. Again, main threat is going to be some significant lightning and some torrential downpours associated with this. Gusty winds and some smaller hail, not out of the question. Still pinging the opportunity for some hail near the Bithlo area. Lightning count is pretty prominent right now. Over 250 lightning strikes in this view in just the last 15 minutes.